are you working on?
It's actually it's just a skull, really. It's like it's an articulated skull. Now that I've got the P1S, I've been doing like a bunch of just like non FPV related 3D prints for fun. You know what I mean?
So, what was I going to say? I feel like you got into FPV like a year before me, or like around the same time.
Yeah, I started at let's see, it would have been April. It's weird, I know the exact date. It was like April 10th of 2020. Yeah, 2020.
Okay. I don't know the exact date. Like 3 years ago. So yeah, I was right with my guess.
Yep.
I think that I started like at the end of that year in September. I found videos and discovered FPV, and like from there it was just like the addiction started, right?
Right. Yeah, for me, the reason why I remember the day very specifically is because I had the Christmas before that April, right? I was kind of like getting interested into the idea of getting a drone, like a camera drone, for picking up and getting like photos and cinematic videos and stuff. So I was doing a lot of research in like DJI drones, Mavics, and stuff like that. I think I had mentioned it to my mom or something. My mom was like kind enough to like buy me some like generic drone that she found on Amazon, for Christmas. It was terrible. I flew it like one time. It was like a holy stone or something, and it was bad. So I was like, I wasn't really interested in it, but like because I had been researching them, you know how like advertisements will target you, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had gotten hit with the advertisements for the DJI FPV drone, and I didn't know anything about like FPV drones per se. I had, I've seen footage of people racing them and stuff like that, but not really any interest in them before that. But for some reason, the FPV drone got marketed towards me, and then I was like, oh wow, that's awesome, right? So I went ahead and I got one of those, and as soon as I was researching the FPV drone, that's when you just get flooded, right? You get flooded with the FPV channels, Mr. Steel, Rotor Riot, like all those people just start popping up on your feed and everything, and that's pretty much what sucked me into it. And then I remember getting it because I ordered the FPV drone for my birthday. My birthday was April 11th, and I got it a day before, and I ended up flying it that very first day that I got it in like sports mode. I had no idea how to fly, for real. But because of all the video, I was like, oh my god. But because of all the videos that had been directed at me for like FPV flying, like Mr. Steel and stuff, I immediately knew that I wanted to learn how to fly in manual. So I flew it the one time in sports mode, and then that night I literally downloaded Liftoff. And
I was like, and I murdered it.
Yeah, I literally spent the next like 20 hours in the sim. Like, didn't sleep at all. You know what I mean? It was my birthday the next day. It's the middle of COVID. Like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I stayed up all night learning how to like fly manually, and I just remember just eating it up. And the very next day for my birthday, I went out there and just found like a random open field and like flew the drone. And it was terrible, but I had such a blast. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was just after that nonstop every day. 8+ hours a day flying in the sim or actually going out and flying in real life, but just kind of went crazy from there.
And what did your wife think about it?
She thought it was pretty cool. I didn't necessarily tell her how much the drone was at the time. I got the when I bought the FPV drone, it was convenient because at least that kit came with the original DJI FPV controller. I think I still got it around here somewhere, but the one that actually has the sticks, like a gamepad controller style. So it came with that one already, and I bought the drone with the controller, the goggles, and the Fly More combo because I knew I was going to want to fly, at least three packs or whatever. Yeah, it was like $1,200 or something. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it was enough that I didn't tell her exactly how much it was. So when it showed up, she was like, "Oh, what's this?" I was like, "Oh, I ordered myself a present for my birthday."
nothing.
And then like later on, she ended up finding out how much I spent on it, and she was like, she's pretty pissed, but it worked
Yeah,
out.
my
You know what I
wife
mean?
every year does my taxes with me, so she does the
Yeah, okay.
calculations. So when she
Yeah,
sees that number,
that is when you get in trouble. In fact, actually, I kind of blew my own mind I remember when I had first sat down and done the taxes and looked and see how much money I'd spent for the first year of FPV. I was like, oh my god!
so
Like
you
I
just
have expensive hobbies, but drones are expensive.
yeah. What do you do for an actual job?
I can't get. It's gonna sound weird, but I can't really get too much into the details of what I do for my actual job. I'll just say that I was in the military for 10 years. Um, I got out of the military and I was essentially recruited by a contractor, a government defense contractor, to
Secret
do.
agent, man.
I was I was contracted by a contracting company that does defense. I am I have many years in the electronic engineering world. Um, and I have a lot of experience having worked with specifically the Navy, and pretty much most of what they do on surface combatant ships. So that's pretty
Oh,
much what I do now. And I still, I really enjoy my job, mostly because I've achieved a level now where I'm the manager. So I kind of sort of,
you
I tell
delegate.
people, yeah. And the best thing about it is I have the opportunity to travel, which I think is something that's been really quintessential for me to be able to take the drone hobby, the FPV drone hobby, and do something with it, right? Because I take my drones with me everywhere I go, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago, probably a few years ago, I messaged you on one of your things. I was just like, because do you still just use whatever music you want to?
Yeah, see, yeah,
Because you
it's
never really
funny.
cared about getting monetized or anything. So
I still don't. It's funny
yeah,
to me because I always have a lot of people who will message me and they'll reach out to me and stuff, and um, they'll be like, "Hey, how much do you make off YouTube?" And I've been able to monetize for a while now, and in the entire time that I've been able to monetize my YouTube channel, again, I don't have any focus whatsoever on monetizing. The entire time for about 2.5 years now, I've been able to monetize. In that time, I've made $180 from
yeah,
YouTube advertisements. I
yeah,
know that I could make a lot more, but I don't care
yeah.
whatsoever about monetization. Um, I for me, it's about doing what I enjoy as like a creative outlet, right? Like, so if I like music is huge for me. Like music is actually what motivates me most of the time to go out and fly. Like if I find a song that I really enjoy, I'll just listen to that song on repeat and just kind of sort of like dance around and do my thing. And that's what motivates me. And I don't care, bro. It could be Lana Del Rey for
You
all I
should have a
care.
video of you, like, how people show the how they show the radio. Just to
Yeah,
be you, like, dancing and flying.
legit. I mean, I've actually had. I have a couple of videos. I have one of my favorite videos that I think I just did out of just nowhere. It was really impromptu, but I was driving out to a spot, one of my local really fun spots that I enjoy. It's kind of like an abandoned material factory area. And on the way there, I was just listening to music like on my YouTube. I use YouTube Music, but um, just popped this song into my whatever channel I was listening to, and I was like, man, this song is it's got a good little rhythm, it's got a good beat, and I'm digging this. And then I got to the spot and just put the song on like the very first pack. I put the song on, it was playing through the phone, and I just edited the video basically to pick up right where I took off, and it was just a one pack, and it was a sick one pack that just went perfectly with the music because it was just it was really seamless. But it's pretty much just my entire that's what I do every single time I go out to fly. I generally have an idea of the song that I have already kind of picked out, or that's motivated me, and I just listen to the song while I go fly, and just let whatever comes. I'm not It's funny because a lot of pilots that I know, great pilots by the way, they focus really hard on like specific lines, or they'll have like an idea in mind or a trick in mind or something. I don't have any of that at all. I am literally completely just ad lib everything as it goes, and whatever comes from it comes from it. You know what I mean? I don't even think of a particular trick per se. I just kind of go with the flow. And I remember recently for the Rotor Riot competition, I don't know if
I
you
watched you do
saw that.
that.
So the Rotor Riot competition, I last year I was able to get into the top 10, and it was with the video that I had done in Spain, and you know, just me doing my normal thing, we're just kind of just going with the flow. But this year I knew that the people that were going to compete were just like me, where they had leveled up so much in their skill, and they are very much like do the line, and they're good at doing the line. And doing the line is what gets views, what gets clicks, what gets a lot of like people really take notice of the line type of pilots, people who have like they've chosen all the little tiny gaps, the specific crazy Maddie trick through the thing, you know. So like for me, I was like, I knew I was gonna have to do a line in order to be able to even be in that group of people because they're just so good, right? So I was in Spain, fortunately, again this year when I had the opportunity to make a video, and I remember going to that spot and just thinking, man, I've got to think of a line. You know what I mean? So I sat there and flew 20 packs, and I flew, you know, the same line with tiny little variations here and there, but I flew the line that I had kind of came up with in my brain. You know, it could have been better, it could have been more, a little more creative, and that's the thing. I don't have creativity for choosing lines per se. I just have like natural creative flow type
Yeah.
style, but um, it was so hard for me. Like it was probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done in FPV was like trying to pick a line and then just stick to it and do the same thing over and over again. And
Did it get
I
you
ended up having,
shaking? Were you
what was
like,
that?
did it, when
Yeah.
you were doing it, did you get that feeling?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
like,
love that feeling, man.
I will say, you know, I will say that I'm super fortunate that, you know, I've gotten to a level in FPV where I'm super comfortable with my drones. I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable because, you know, I spend a lot of time tuning and building my drones, and they fly in my opinion, they fly
Yeah.
really well, right? So I have a lot of confidence in my drone. I have a lot of confidence in my skill. So I know that I can pretty much do anything that I set my mind to. It's just a matter of just doing it, right? So when I started doing the parts of the line, you know, I opened up with like a very I opened up with like a going towards a an obstacle and doing a roll. What I guess it's called a ratty when you do the roll into the matty over it, right? And it you know, the very first time I did that, as I started the line and I just did it super clean, I was like, all right, it feels good. And then I hit the next thing, and then I, you know, wanted to go through this really tiny ass little narrow gap. And the first like one or two times I did the ratty and then came back through and did the thing, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this, right? Like I was getting so nervous because once you start building up the line and
Once
you're
you
doing
start
all the
doing it,
things,
sometimes you get more
yeah,
nervous. Like I
you get
feel
more
like that
nervous
in a
because you're like,
race
I don't
when
want
you're
to screw up.
getting
I don't
back
want to screw up. Like
up.
I'm getting, yeah, I'm getting to the end, right? And it's crazy. Sorry, I just noticed somebody asked if I
That's
messed
all
around with
good.
tiny whoops. Yeah, I actually, I kind of feel bad because Rotor Riot actually sent me the Vision 40. Uh, one second. They sent me the they sent me the Vision 40. Like this was like a year ago, and I freaking love it, dude. It's a sick little tiny whoop. It's a 2S, but they make a 1S version that's pretty. Never mind, sorry, this is a 1S version. The 1S version is pretty good. They make a
It's the
2S version, but the
1002s,
1S is
right?
pretty good.
RC Empowered 1002s.
Oh, yep. That's what it is. So this thing is sick. I actually really enjoy tiny whooping. In fact, I just moved into this new house and I have like this massive basement now where I've got like all my stuff set up, which is pretty awesome. And I'm
So
gonna
you
put
gonna do
like,
game and whoop?
yeah, I'm gonna put a bunch of gates and stuff because it's a large space, right? So I'm gonna put a bunch of like tiny whoop gates and everything in here so I can fly my little tiny whoop around. So I do fly it, but they sent me that to make a video for it like a year and a half ago. I just never did the video. Feel really bad about it. I'm really busy, you know what I mean? I get a lot of people asking me to do videos for things or like reviews of things, and it's not my I love flying drones, don't get me wrong, but like making a YouTube channel and being any sort of an influencer or any sort of a content creator is not my goal with this.
Yeah.
I just enjoy being creative when I feel like I'm in the moment and I have the time.
Yeah.
You know, I get a lot of people, like I've made a few really good videos about um like smaller micro drones that I thought were a lot of fun. I had no idea what I was doing, like 3-inch drones or like 2.5-inch drones, you know. Some of my more One of my more popular videos I did was like on the 3-inch, like a quad mula. This is a 2.5, but the 3-inch one just kind of really blew up. Man, when I tell you that I had probably probably about at least 300 to 400, 500 emails a week from people asking me to just build them the drone. And at first I was like, I've got some time, sure, like, buy the part, send it to me, and I'll put it together. But dude, like, you realize that once you start trying to do that kind of stuff, you will become extremely busy, and you'll hate your life. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times I get companies who ask me to do reviews on things, and some things I'm like, okay, this is actually really cool. I will take the time to do it. But other things that just don't really inspire me, I'll just email the company back, be like, yo, this thing is not interesting enough for me to take my time to do anything with it. I'm sorry. I'll mail it back to you. I don't care. But like, it's just the way it is. I don't do this to try to, appease anybody. It's just for me. I really, more than anything, I just want to see the community grow and people just enjoy flying and have fun,
Yeah.
So, for sure. Yeah.
So when you build, you always would you ever build naked?
Build naked?
Like the
I'm naked?
No, the units, like the air units. Would you strip them and do a naked build?
You're talking about for the micros? So it's funny because everybody's like, oh, can you get that below 250 grams? And I've never had for anything the 3 inches and below. This is like 230 grams, 235 maybe. This is a 6S. This is a 6S pack on here, but in order to do that, you have to use a very specific 6S pack to stay below 250. Could I build it a little bit lighter and use a slightly larger, like, milliamp hour pack? This is only 380, so it's not very much. I could, but this is my personal opinion, like, I don't mind if I get a little bit shorter flight time if the flight experience is better. Does that make sense? So, like, a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just build 4S? I've tried building 4S micros, and in my opinion, I don't like the way it's too saggy. I don't like 4S in general. I've tried 4S on 5-inch and everything. I'm not a fan. I like 6S. In fact, actually, I've been trying to build 8S quads. So, because I like the power, right? I like feeling that feeling of, like, just ripping hard and going fast and
You like the
4S
momentum then.
Yeah, I love the momentum.
Yeah.
Especially with the smaller drones. So, like, what I found is that the more weight you can put on and still maintain performance, meaning, like, you're not too heavy to weigh the quad down, you get the momentum that you're looking for. And in my experience, the flight experience feels more and more like a 5-inch, right? Because if you have, and I tried building a really light drone. I did have one drone that I built with a naked walk snail unit, not a DJI 03 or anything, but a walk snail one where it was like the super light one. Whatever the VTX is that they have as, like, single board. It was a really light 3-inch drone. I think all up weight with everything on it, I think it was maybe almost 200 grams, a little bit below. And I just didn't like the way it flew. Like, it just didn't have the weight. Like, you would try to do a power loop and it would just kind of, like, stall. You know what I mean? Like, you would have to go full throttle into the loop in order just to get it to do that, rather than the nice, fun little flick that you got, with the momentum. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Unless I had a real need to build with naked components, specifically like air units or something, I just haven't had that yet. And I'm, as much as I do like to fly micros every once in a while, and I love this one. This one's a lot of fun. The 2.5, the Gin. This is the only micro that I have left. I had 3-inch and 3.5s and stuff, but it's like, at that point you're getting to where it just feels like a 5-inch. I'd rather just go fly my 5-inch. You know what I mean? Like, whereas this little guy is sick because it flies really great and it's super tiny. It gets the prop side of view, gets, everything out of view, so you get good image out of that. And it flies well enough that you could use it, like, you can use the footage easily. The 03, as long as you know how to kind of, play with it and post, it looks good, in my opinion. So
Any huge losses, FPV losses?
Yes, in fact, the only quad I've ever truly lost. So,
Hi, John.
yeah. So I fly 5-inch drones, but I decided I wanted to build a 7-inch quad, right? And the very first 7-inch that I built was the same exact quad. The RPM. This is the Falcon Rad RPM frame. I'm fortunate, enough to be sponsored by T-Motor, so I asked T-Motor to send me the was it the F90s? I don't remember, but the 2808 motors that they have, the F somethings. They sent me the motors. They sent me the stack. It was a T-Motor F7 Pro with the new T-Motor 55 amp Pro 3 ESC. Built it, and it was the most beautiful quad I've ever built. I meticulously wrapped the GPS wires in the foil, and I made it all beautiful. And I did all the prints all custom and everything. And it just the drone was amazing, right? It flew amazing. I spent so much time tuning the hell out of it, and it flew great. I went to Hawaii. First day I was there, fucking gorgeous day. Go to this spot. I fly all the way out like 2+ kilometers, just like a test flight. Totally smooth. Everything was perfect. I was so happy, so intense. There was people there who were like watching me, like other people. And I was kind of staying away from the crowd and everything, but people were coming over and talking to me, asking me questions, and they were all excited, like, "Oh, that's so cool," blah, blah, blah. And as I'm coming back, I'm like not even 500 meters away. As I'm coming back, I'm over water, of course, because it's Hawaii. And as I'm coming back, the drone literally just does this. It's just flying along, and then it just goes, and then it just starts falling. And the funny thing about that quad is that I had set up the 03 to be powered directly from VBAT, right? Not from the flight controller. And because it was powered directly from VBAT, the 03 was powered on the entire way. So I could see in the goggles what the drone was doing. But the OSD disappeared. I suspect something may have happened to that flight controller. I don't know what it was. The build was super clean, but maybe it was just like one of those just really crappy situations where the flight controller drops. But I think it just dropped out. It just started nosediving, and I just remember seeing it in my brain. And I had a friend of mine there who also was into drones, and she knew that, like, oh my God, like, it's donezo. And we're just watching it because you could see it. I took my goggles off, and it was so high in the air that you could just see it just falling, plummeting towards the ocean, and just the craziest part about that, and mind you, I've lost drones and trees and like crazy buildings, and I've done some crazy nutty things that I do not think anybody should ever do to risk their life to get a drone, but I do it every time because I have that much of a connection with my drone. I actually
bought a tugboat and I went out there.
No, I went to like a Walmart or something, and I bought like snorkel gear. I bought a freaking bodyboard, snorkel gear. I went out and mind you, this is Hawaii again, right? Hawaii's beautiful, but the ocean's powerful out there, right? Like the waves are strong. The coastline is mostly lava, so the rocks are sharp and jagged. Where the quad ended up in was kind of like a bit of a. This is actually nuts. I damn near died because of this, but it was worth it. Good experience. But like where the quad landed, it was a bit of a cove area, kind of surrounded by like lava rocks everywhere. I swam out there. I'm a pretty experienced swimmer. When I was in the Navy, I was a rescue swimmer, so I know how to swim very well. So I swam out there. I had my snorkel gear. I'm looking around. The water's gorgeous. I mean, the experience was beautiful because the ocean's just gorgeous out there. You can see like all the big fish and stuff. It was really pretty. It was a fun experience. I got in that cove, and like right where the entrance of the cove was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was like an arc of a cave. I didn't know it was a cave though. I just thought it was like shallow, like rock, like a shallow rock with water over it. So I start trying to go over the rock, but then when the waves came out, the water dropped below the arc, which was about a 10-foot difference. So I am on top of this arc, holding on for my dear life. And when the wave came back, it actually pushed me through underneath the arc underwater. And I thought I was dead, dude. I thought I was so dead because like the water's so powerful. It just threw me into this like cove. It was crazy. And I remember thinking to myself, I was just like, I've got kids and stuff. Like, there's no way I'm going to die today. I was like, nope, not today. Like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to live through this. I ended up getting like smashed up pretty hard against the rocks and stuff, but I was okay. I got out of the water. I made it back to shore, and I was just like, well, it was worth the effort to try to find the drone. Didn't get the drone back, but that's the only drone I've ever lost. I immediately, when I came back home, I just like reordered the parts and just rebuilt another one.
I actually did something not in the ocean or anything, but my dad lives in a place called Perry Sound. There's a giant lake and everything.
Mm-hmm.
My drone went in. I went into his house and got his little like goggles, and I went and I like it's such a big like how the heck do you find it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's tough.
I ended up finding it like just as I was about to give up. It was like inside like seaweed, and I got it. And the crazy thing was everything, Vista, everything it worked, and none of it was like
Yeah.
formal coded or anything.
No,
But
and
yeah,
it's funny because, I don't think people realize the resiliency and robustness of electronics is actually pretty good.
yeah,
If you're not in salt water, the likelihood of you saving the drone is super high. All you got to do is what I do every time. I've dunked a lot of drones in water. You just unplug them while they're still underwater, let it dry out. You know what I mean? Like, make sure that there's no residual. I've actually given like drones that have gone in the water. I've put them back in like a bathtub and hose them off with clean, fresh water. Use some isopropyl alcohol. They're fine. You know what I mean? The funny story though is that this exact same drone, right after I had rebuilt it, I actually took this one with me to Everett, Washington for work. Right, I was out there and beautiful day right there, like on the ocean. The water was like glass. I actually posted this video on my Facebook. It's hilarious. The water was like glass, and you literally you couldn't tell the difference between the water and the sky. Like there was no difference. It just looked like a mirror, right? So I go to take off, and I'm flying, and I'm literally flying for like 5 seconds, and I go right into the water. This is a saltwater bay, by the way, right? And so this exact drone went in the water. The crazy thing about that was that night, for some reason, the tide went out like 12, 13 feet. The tide went out that far that later that night, my friend and I went out there with waders and we just walked out and picked up the drone and saved it. And that was like the
nice.
most exciting feeling to get it back. You know what I mean? When you're like, dude, this thing's gone. Unfortunately, because it was salt water, the flight controller, the ESC were totally smoked. Actually, the O3 still worked though. That's the same O3. And again, not conformal coded, nothing, but the O3 worked perfectly fine. The motors were toast, so I had to replace the motors. But same frame, and everything else was good.
Three times I got my drone back from the top of like buildings, tall buildings. So those have always been like great victories.
Yeah, I also have a pretty gnarly one where was I? I was in Virginia near I can't remember the area, the Shenandoah Mountains, I think is what they call that. Really beautiful area, but they had oh my gosh, this is a funny story, but they had it was like a chicken nugget processing plant. It was like Tyson or something, whatever that company that makes like breaded chicken nugget bull crap or chicken strips, right? And a processing plant that did that, and it was a really old one. It'd been there for almost 100 years, and they had like these massive silos and stuff. And I was flying around and thinking I was cool, and I actually crashed up on top of one of like the gantries up there. So I actually like scaled the side of this silo that had like rebar ladders that were 100 years old and like falling out of the damn concrete. But I climbed that sucker, just free climbed it. And it was like a solid like 60 feet up in the air. It was like I had a person with me who was recording from the bottom and their butt was puckered the whole time. My butt was puckered. There was no way in hell that I was going to climb back down that way. So I kind of snuck into the factory itself, and I was in the top floor above where all these silos were, and bro, the entire room's covered in disgusting like breaded chicken dust. Like imagine chicken, like just whole chickens getting boiled with water and all the gross crap that just accumulates. That was everywhere. So I was trying to find like a hatch or some way to get down, and I found a hatch. I opened this hatch. It was just covered in like the chicken debris. It smelled horrible. I opened the hatch and I looked down, and it's a ladder, right? Like a ladder to come up and go down. Mind you, this old ass factory. The escape ladder itself was just covered in spider webs. The top of the hatch was covered in like daddy long legs. like thousands and thousands of them, right? And I'm just like, but I mean, like, it's either this or I take my chances with that old crazy ass rebar ladder that I'm probably gonna die on. Like this, I may not die, but I might get bit. Worst case scenario, at least I'll get down. That I'm probably gonna die. So I was like, I'm doing this, and I took that chute down. I got out. I was covered in just this chicken dust. Oh my god, it smells so bad. It was disgusting. And like, anyways, and then I was covered in spiders and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, like ran out ran out some random door. And then I remember running out and I just was covered in the stuff. And my friend who was with me was like trying to find me. And some guy who was driving like a truck through to like pick up a whatever a shipment of freaking breaded chicken. He walks out. He goes, dude, I don't think I've ever seen anybody come out of there. Are you all right? I was just like, no, man, this is the most horrible thing ever. And it was hilarious, but it ended up, I got my drone back. That's all that really matters, right? So that worked out. Yeah, too many drones. I will do everything I can to save a drone, though. I've done some crazy stuff.
What's your biggest win?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's the thing, like, out of all the flights or whatever, like all the, like, what was the most satisfying flight?
I would probably have to say, so with this exact drone, actually, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love 5-inch. Probably up near the top was I've had a couple really great packs in Spain. I've been very fortunate to go to Spain for work, and I've been able to take my drones with me. I think I remember specifically having, I think it was my video that I put out for the end of last year, end of 2023 or whatever. I just had a lot of really great packs. I had a great time just kind of vibing on my own there and flying that location. And then to end that trip, there's this massive, like, I don't know what it's called, smokestack, right? Tall ass smokestack. So it's essentially a dive. And the dive itself is not an easy dive whatsoever, especially because the exit is very much like blocked by all kinds of crap. So you do the really long ass dive and you get out the bottom, and then you have to navigate all the crap just to land it, right? It's one that's been done by Pablo Flor, phenomenal pilot, Phoenix FPV, and I always wanted to try it. I never had the balls to try it because when I'm in another country, I usually only bring like 1 or 2 drones with me, and I don't want to break all my crap. So I usually, I haven't, sent it that hard. But on that particular trip, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to be going home like the day after tomorrow, and I wanted to try this at least one time. So I went over there into the smokestack and just started sending it. And I think I sent it like maybe 4 times. I took 4 attempts, and on the 4th time I made it. And I think landing that, and I'm not a dive guy. Like, that's not something I'm known for. You got like Austin Spire. That guy dives ladders all day long. So like you expect to see him dive a ladder. Like, I can hit a gap like nobody's business, but I'm not big in doing dives. I'd love to try him whenever I see him. But this particular dive is massive. It's huge. Like, if you ever get a chance to see that video, it's pretty sick.
I've seen.
Yeah, and did that dive, and it was probably definitely one of the most, like, oh my god, I did it.
You did it with the 03, right?
Well, yes, the 03.
Okay, because he's flying at analog.
Yes. So the funny thing about that, the funny thing about that is, like, the first time I tried diving it, I was a little bit kind of standing where I felt like, yeah, I'll just stand wherever I want. But the video completely cut out on me. Even with the 03, like, it was like a brick smokestack, so the signal was not penetrating through. I dived in about halfway through, the signal just completely cut out. Obviously, I crashed. And I was like, well, I gotta remedy that. And then I realized that the times that I've seen him do it, he's standing right in front of the exit. And I'm like, oh, that's probably because he's using, the RF to bounce off to be able to get video all the way through, even on analog. I mean, 03 is not necessarily a terrible system for penetration, but in this particular case, it was not good. So I had to stand at like the exit side, looking up into it to be able to get consistent video to
fly right into it.
Yeah, basically, like, I had to like fly at me as I was exiting. So, but it worked out. It was pretty cool. Aside from that, I think the only other flight that really sticks out to me as being super memorable, Hawaii. I love Hawaii very much. The island of Oahu has the Stairway to Heaven, right? It's like a really narrow walkway that goes up these mountains. It's beautiful. And I've always wanted to get that shot, like, coming down the Stairway to Heaven. It's extremely difficult because the weather is always very rainy in Hawaii. Even though it's always sunny, it's always rainy at the same time. That's why there's rainbows everywhere. But it took forever to try to get the right day, to try to get enough like cleared skies to be able to even see the damn walkway, the stairway. I remember finally getting it, and then getting the shot. What I felt was pretty fun, and I did it from so far away. It was with the same drone, but it's like that rush that you get from doing something like long range is a different rush than when you're flying 5-inch drones near you. You know what I mean? Because the
Yeah.
real possibility of you losing that drone is so much more real.
Or going on a long ass walk.
Yeah, or going on a super long. I mean, bro, if I lost my drone up there, I probably still would have tried to get it back.
Yeah,
Even
that
though
would be
I would have
content.
done it. I would have done it. Yeah, I would have definitely tried it. I would have tried to get it back. But I mean, like, you get that little bit of an extra rush when you're doing long range. You know what I mean? Like, you're definitely kind of like, oh my god, I might lose this drone, or any little thing. That drone is incredible. It flies amazingly. The signal is just insane. I have to say that, like, I think the furthest, and again, I'm not a long range guy, but the only limiting factor that I've experienced so far is my battery. I've been on the O3 at 5 kilometers out and 50 megabits still solid, rock solid. So it's like, I would love to go further and see just how far I could go, but it's you need to get much bigger packs, and probably build a little bit more for efficiency. That particular drone is fairly efficient, but it's definitely built to be able to rip a little bit still. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, definitely. I think one day I do want to try to see how far I could send a drone long range. Kind of maybe focus on that for a little bit and just see how far I can go, because it's exciting, right? It's fun to see that. What you can do, what you can achieve with your own bare hands, like what you can build. You know what I mean? I think that's a big part of why I really enjoy the hobby.
Very good. I'm thinking. You have any questions for me?
Yeah, man. What do you? Oh my gosh, I'm getting a phone call from the ex-wife. Ex-wife number 3.
How many
She's just probably like, hey, let me in. Let me go see if she needs help. But so yeah, so you're out in Canada, right?
Yeah.
How is it flying in Canada? Is it difficult? The reason why I ask is I'm planning on trying to make a visit up there here pretty soon. But like, you got to worry about Mounties on horseback coming to accost you for flying.
No, I'm in Toronto, so it's just like I can't ever fly with music in my ears because I need my ears to like hear if someone's around me or whatever. Because like
Right.
there's just people and everything everywhere. So the way it is in Canada is basically everything is class. Are you there? Oh, it's all good. So everything basically, like in Toronto here, is Class C airspace. So you can't fly any 5-inch or anything like anywhere. And but sub
Oh my
250,
god, that's terrible.
you can fly anywhere basically. You can't. You're not supposed to fly at the park. So you're not supposed to fly at the park, but you can go to the CN Tower and dive the CN Tower as long as your drone is sub 250 because it's not class. The only airspace you can't go in is Class F airspace.
Okay. So like, but if you were to go out into the middle of nowhere though, you could take a 5-inch out there if nobody knows you're out there.
Yeah, no one would really like care. Like,
Right. That makes sense. I mean, it's
there's
not much
Niagara.
different.
You can't fly in Niagara. Like the whole Niagara area is like off limits.
Yeah, that sucks. It's funny because I remember I had gone on a trip to Washington State, and the state of Washington is beautiful. Lots of beautiful waterfalls. A lot of really beautiful national parks. But this was before I had really known all the rules about like national parks and a big no-no with all that stuff. So I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I was just wanting to fly and
Let's
do
go.
all these cool waterfalls and stuff. And then I get out there and I've got my drone and I'm just looking around and seeing all these signs everywhere. Like the sign literally says, "Don't even fucking think about it." You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Oh, come on. I want to fly my drone around this waterfall, please." And it's just, yeah, it sucks for that reason that you got to be real mindful of that stuff because, you know, the world's beautiful and like these sites look awesome in FPV from that perception or from that, you know, at least from that angle or whatever, like that perspective is pretty awesome to try to get. But so many of those things, you're just not allowed to do any of it. You got to go to like a different foreign country or something to be able to pull that kind of stuff off.
Yeah. So from the time I started, I focused on sub 250. So basically everything I fly is sub 250.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, and that's another thing that's really nice about having this little guy is because it does fly so well. You do still get some really amazing images out of the O3 with it. Like I was able to, when I'm in Hawaii, I'm in downtown Honolulu, diving buildings because nobody can even hear the damn drone, let alone see it. And even when people see it, they don't even care. They're like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they don't care. So I'm like diving buildings middle of the day.
That
And
was
it's,
in your montage, right?
yeah, I think I have a
Yeah, it was
video
in your
from Hawaii.
montage. I saw it because I think I asked you because you combined the GoPro with O3 on that one.
Yeah, I've got some it's mostly cinematic based with a lot of you know, GoPro footage, but just a little bit of O3 footage in there with the micro.
Yeah, that's my O3.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Is that's set up like in a pusher configuration?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
cool.
so this is I designed this frame. It's called the Discus,
Okay.
and basically, yeah. So it has a naked. It would have the
Oh, nice.
naked O3 here,
Hmm.
and then because of that, you're able to have a true X and
Huh.
no props in view.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
So
I
it
wonder if we're
flies
ever gonna.
way better than I thought it would. It was kind of like an experiment.
Yeah.
And then I started flying it. I was just like, I love it, but it doesn't have the momentum. It's basically all up weight with a 654S,
Mm-hmm.
200 grams.
Yeah, that's super low. That's super light. And like I said, I mean, I am no master at post processing or anything. I'm not trying to say at all
Mhm.
that I know what I'm really doing. I use Adobe Premiere Pro, but I definitely feel like I've gotten to a point where I can get pretty good results, like good enough for YouTube results. You know, using O3 footage, even the DJI Action 2 isn't necessarily the
Oh, it's
greatest
good.
camera for dynamic range, but you know, I think it looks pretty good. I think it
Yeah.
fits what I need to use it for.
I think lots
So
of people just don't know how to expose properly and stuff. Like if you know how
yeah.
to like even this, right? Like people get caught up with their setup. Like right now I'm using a softbox and an RGB light. You know, lighting is so
Mhm.
important. And with cameras, if you know how to expose properly, like you can make anything look good. Lots of time people think that my Runcam thumb footage is like from a GoPro if I
Yeah,
mess
that's
around with it, right?
if you've
But
achieved
like
that, that's good.
perfect lighting also like if you fly like I always try to fly golden hour like as the sun's going down when you dive a building and the sun is going down. Oh, it's just like you get those like rainbow reflections.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden Hour is definitely one of my favorites for sure. I remember when I went through a phase where pretty much the only videos I ever put out were all just Golden Hour.
Yeah,
Golden
yeah.
Hour time frames. But yeah, and it's it's kind of a bit of a bummer now though because I'm so for me I fly a lot. A lot more than people probably realize. And I have probably hundreds and thousands of hours of footage that people will never see. And I record every time I go out, but there are so many times where I've gone out and it's like the lighting wasn't just right, so I'm just not interested in using the footage. And I'm not the kind of guy who's gonna like flood people with my content.
Yeah.
I really only put something together when I feel super motivated for it. You know what I mean? It's not that again, I mean I
We're
very
all different. I flood people like I post every bloody thing.
yeah. I used to do that. I used to do that where I would literally every single session I would go and post a video for it and stuff like that. And I think it's something that
I
it's
like cutting videos. Like,
yeah, I enjoy it too. I really
yeah.
do. And that's something that I very much enjoyed. I enjoyed doing that for a long time where I would just put out a video every single time I went flying. Just did it, fly video, fly video. But I think I've realized that if I continued to do that, one, I started becoming it felt like I was starting to do it more because I had to rather than more because I wanted to, if that makes
And
sense.
I feel that, but I feel that in the way that like I'm like I don't want to fly because I haven't edited yesterday's video.
See that I know exactly what I know
Yeah,
exactly
like
what
I
you're
just
talking
like
about.
but that also saves me because I'm an idiot, and every time I fly, I break something. Like,
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. And it's so I am not dogging on the single pack people, like people who go out and just fly. They got, they fly a bunch of packs. They got one really good pack and they post the one pack and they're like, yeah, I'm great because I can do a one pack. I assure you, I can fly multiple really great one packs. Like I absolutely could, and I
see,
could put out.
I don't care that much about the one pack because most one packs, even if they can fly one pack, like even Phoenix, like he's not posting one packs. He's cutting the crap out of his stuff.
Absolutely.
The only person I know that like actually like does maybe a good one pack that's fun to watch is like Phantom.
Yeah, and it's usually because he's talking and he's just kind of
Yeah,
like,
he's
and
talking
so
and
he's
he's crazy
keeping your
too. You know.
interest. Yeah, and he's nuts. And the guy's not only is he a phenomenal pilot, he's just a really good dude. I love Phantom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I can fly really great one packs. I think one of my last videos was actually a one pack, just to prove people, hey, I can. You know what I mean? But I'll throw them out every once in a while, just because it's fun to throw out a one pack here and there. But I have so much good footage. For me, my mentality is like I will store footage and then I will edit pieces from that session and that session and that session together and make what I feel is like a very creative, tasteful edit. And again, this is just my experience.
No, it's true because if you're able to interlock them, it's going to
Yeah,
be more interesting.
and if you look at videos, 2 years ago, I remember the very first time I put out a video and got 1,000 views. I was like, my mind was blown. I was like so excited. I got 1,000 views in the video, but it really didn't take much to do that, and people were doing it more regularly. Nowadays, bro, you can have Bubby FPV put out a video, and he's lucky to get 2K views. Like I'm dead ass serious. It's
Well, it's
harder and
because
harder.
YouTube is changing.
Yeah,
YouTube has changed a lot,
it's
and
hard for people to get the views. You know what I mean? And you really have to be doing something special to get views on your videos. And I don't do it for the views
I
anyway.
just like I'm on a binge, right? My wife was supposed to go to Mexico for 4 days, so I've been streaming all day long in my shorts. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen it, but like I'm just doing
yeah,
nothing. I'm just doing my day, and honestly, I'm getting like 2,000 to 4,000, 5,000 views a day. So
yeah.
like, you don't have to do anything special.
Well, live is great. Live is a really great way to get people in and get people watching. You know what I mean? Just because they can kind of jump in when they want to, jump out when they want to, and all that stuff, and whatever's
Because
going on.
you're like, you got to do something special. I'm like, just take off your clothes and do
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, no. I'm talking about like flying videos. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like, a good example, Blackbird FPV.
yeah.
Absolutely love Blackbird. I've been a huge fan since the beginning of his. He would drop a video and he would get 5,000-6,000 views in like a day.
Mhm.
And now he puts a video out in 900. You know what I mean? Like, and it's
Because
just
YouTube is what YouTube is doing now. Before it was according to your audience. YouTube
yeah,
basically said screw you to everyone
yep,
and said if you want to get the views, you have to do something special, or you have to
yep.
like
You
you
got
have
to be
to
able to reach.
leverage your audience. You have to use like it's almost like if you're big, you have to use the money you have from being big to be able to do something bigger. Because if
Yeah,
not, we're all on an even playing field now. So somebody that posts something with like no subscribers is going to do just as good as someone that did with
yeah,
more. So subscribers is just a metric now.
yep. It just
It's
depends on how they hit. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It really
and
does.
it's also something where it's like I've tested all these things like a ton where you can take your video just your one pack, let's say, and do a voiceover and do let's say like a 10-minute voiceover. And then you could, and it's like maybe a boring video, or you can make it super exciting and it's like 2 minutes
Yeah.
and cut it. And both those videos, just depending kind of when you post it and stuff, like sometimes
Yeah.
one will get all the views, sometimes one will. You can take a video that if you felt like a video should have done better, you can just delete it and then post it the next day or post
Yeah,
it
and
another
it'll do way
time
better. Yeah.
and
It's
just see
funny.
what happens. It's the title. Like sometimes you just change the title and that makes the difference. YouTube is so like crazy, whereas so before it was you could spend years building an audience, and like that's where like I really feel bad for like drone camps, because it's
Yeah.
like he spent all these years building this audience of like 100,000 whatever subscribers, and now it doesn't mean nothing. It's rough. But
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah.
I have my opinions of Justin, but yeah, I think it definitely points out the fact that if you want to even be remotely successful in the YouTube space, which again, I don't give a shit about, it's more about my creative outlet. But I definitely get people who continue to subscribe to my channel, even though I don't really do anything. I put out a video like maybe once a week, maybe. Sometimes it's like 2 videos a month. Sometimes it's a video a month. And I'm still building subscribers because people are watching old videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not super caring about it. I love the fact that people love watching my videos. I love meeting new people and them being like, hey, I really appreciate your flying, appreciate your videos, because it makes me inspired to want to go out and fly. And that to me is a win, right? If I can
Yeah.
inspire somebody to go out and fly, then I care more about that than making money off it, right? But it's just one of those things where I get a lot of questions. People are like, what are you doing that's different than me? Why are you getting views and I'm not? I'm doing the same thing you're doing. And I look at their video and I'm like, bro, like,
You
not
suck.
really. Not that you suck. It's just that you're posting a one pack, and your one pack has so much dead space.
But people just, there's a lot of like it's the FPV community I find hilarious, because it's just I came from the reptile community. So I built a channel in the reptile community, like, and the people in that community is so like toxic. So in the FPV community, it's just the toxicness of the FPV community is like child play. It's like looking at kids in the sandbox, and like every now and then you'll get like, because it takes a certain type of person to be an FPV, and usually it's not a person that's like me. Like it's usually those more techie, that are willing to get through all that learning. The troublemakers and stuff usually, screw this, they can't. like lots of people don't have the brain power for FPV, or the patience, or that like fortitude that you have to be able to deal with all the crap. And like lots of people don't have that, and the people that do, some of them, they're a little. I'm a little weird, crazy, whatever, but I'm just mean you get these personality types, and lots of time people, it's easy to blame someone. It's easy for someone to see you and get jealous, right? We always have, though. Anytime anyone succeeds, you can choose to be happy for them, or you can choose to be jealous.
Yeah.
And some people, they want that to happen to them. They want what you have, and they want it quick, and nothing good happens quick. You got to work for it.
Yeah, it's very true. And I get a lot of people, who will ask me questions like, I get accused of stabilizing my footage a lot, right? I have not stabilized footage for almost 2.5 years. Not freestyle footage, at least. Like,
But
I'm
you
gonna
see
do
what I mean?
cinematic.
See how like that's child's play. Like it's like someone
and I'm
says,
like, you can watch my video and see my props in the corners not moving because it's not stabilized. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many telltale signs. If you know what to look for, you can tell when it's stabilized, right?
yeah.
But like, who gives a shit? Like, even if I did, it doesn't matter. If I don't, it doesn't matter. Like, just focus on what you're doing to try to make your videos look good. If you want to stabilize, do it. If you don't, then don't. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, what matters is that people want to watch your content. And, the only thing that I can give people advice on that is like, I think just being honest with it, like, I think when people see that it's forced or that it's kind of faked, they pick up on it. Whether you like it or not, they're going to notice. if it's something where you just have a natural capability of being creative, like look at Al Plume, right?
Yeah,
That
beautiful.
guy is
That's
so
art.
insanely
Yeah.
creative. Like the man is insanely creative, and I mean, even his videos deserves way more views than he gets. But the reason why he's a phenom in the FPV world is because he's insanely creative. He's a
Yeah.
great pilot. Don't get me wrong. The guy's probably the best pilot in the world, in my opinion. He's like the Rodney Mullen of FPV.
Mhm.
But a lot of it has to do with that he's tasteful. Like he's got really tasteful, juicy music. The guy knows how to edit. The guy knows how to color grade. The guy knows how to build emotion. The guy knows how to like convey a feeling with his
Yeah.
flying. And so many people don't even think of that as something that you should try to do if you want to get views and clicks. And I try to explain that to people, like you have to convey emotion. You have to make people feel invested in watching your video. And if you yourself don't want to watch your video a million times, other people are not going to watch your video. And I'm telling you, I watch my own footage way more than anybody else. I watch my videos on like repeat, not because I'm self-centered or egotistical or anything. It's just I generally really enjoy what I create. I like the music that I pick. You know, I have my playlist.
I spend so much time editing that when it's done, I don't want to watch it anymore.
I
And
don't
my
ever want to
wife,
see it again.
because I do daily vlogging too. So I have like a drone channel, the snake channel, vlog channel. And when I'm editing, my wife, like she's like, "You're so self-obsessed. All you want to do is look at yourself." I'm like, "No one else is gonna edit my videos."
Yeah, facts. Yeah. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. I love Fun Per Volts FPV's comment. Just add Mr. Beast or Hawk 2 to the title. That's funny. It's funny, but it's true, man. Like you can get some clicks just on having a super clickbait title, and
Yeah.
I think that's another thing too. I don't think a lot of people really spend time on thinking of at least a semi-creative title, or even more importantly, uh, even making a thumbnail. You have so many people post
Did
FPV
you see the
videos.
one I made for us?
Yeah, it's good. But that's what I'm saying. Like you have to spend a little bit of time to get people to just initially click. Whether
Yeah.
it's thinking of a even remotely creative title or spending time creating a good thumbnail, you got to do that. You know what I
Like
mean?
you said, the most important thing is if you can make someone feel. No matter what you make them feel, you can make them angry, you make them happy, like whatever you make them feel, that's the most important thing, to try and make people feel something. And the people that complain and whine and stuff, they're just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about
Yeah,
what they're giving. They're thinking about what they can get.
exactly.
And to me,
Exactly.
it's like if I can
And
make you laugh, even if you look at me, you're like, what is this guy doing? Like, put a shirt on. That's I think I what blows my mind is someone to come see your thing, not enjoy it. Why don't they just leave? But for them to take the time to actually write something negative, like that gets my jollies going. I'll try and continue
yeah.
the conversation, like
Yep.
or on live, like they'll be on live and they'll be like, "You're still there doing nothing," and I'll pull up their channel in front of everyone. And I'll be like, "Let's see what this person's doing." And I'm
That's funny.
like wow, like it's always like 3 subscribers, no videos. It's like they're always somebody, the people that have something to say are always
Yeah.
like the nothings. It's
Yeah.
just like at least I'm doing something, right? At least I'm
Yeah.
working towards something.
I remember there was a quote that my high school sweetheart's mom used to say. She would say, because at the time when I was in high school, I was dating like the hottest girl in school, and I used to get so much shit. I used to get in fights all the time because this girl was really, really attractive and all that. But I remember her mom used to try to be like, "It's okay," She would say, "Love me, hate me, just talk about me. Really, that's all that matters, right? As long as people either love you or hate you, all that matters is they're talking about you." And
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, I guess, but I'm the kind of guy who's like, I don't really like attention. So, you know what I mean? But you make a really good point, though, about giving something. And that's another thing, too, I tell people all the time is like, what have you done for the FPV hobby? What have you done for the community? Like,
Mhm.
you want so badly for people to watch your videos, to like your subscribe, whatever it is. But like, have you done anything for them at all? Like, whether it's been even just it's crazy how much people appreciate when I just sit down and do like this is what I'm doing. This is how I build my drone video. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the little tips and tricks that I use to set a drone up, or whenever I build a drone, I go into beta flight and do this. That stuff is like, that's giving back to the community. I mean, I'll tell you this much. I just put a video out not too long ago. That's my process for like what I would consider good build tips and setting up a video, a quad in beta flight. And those videos, it's like almost an hour-long video, but it's incredibly thorough. Those videos are so painful to make. You know what I mean? I'm sure you know this, but like having to edit a video of that type and get every little detail correctly, you know, make it to where that you're not wasting. I hate people who waste my time in videos. If you're trying to teach me something and you spend 5 seconds not saying something, I'm gonna want to kick you in your balls, right? Like edit that 5 seconds out of nothing and just make them go together, please. You know what I mean? Like don't waste my time. But I think about things like that, and those videos are extremely difficult to edit because they're so time consuming, but it's still something that it's like a labor of love, right? You're giving back to the community in that way, trying to help even one person enjoy the hobby just as much as you do is a win, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Mr. Snake wastes my time every day.
so basically the thing, I'm a snake breeder, and
Yeah.
there was Mr. Steel. So I made myself Mr. Snake so that when people search for Mr. Steel FPV, Mr. Snake FPV is close to that.
Pop up. Yep, yep.
So I was
Mr.
doing
Something.
that. But
Yeah.
then they made the handles. So YouTube made it where we got our handle.
Yeah.
And I saw that Toronto FPV wasn't taken. So I'm like, I had to take it.
Yeah. It was funny. I remember when the handles came out, I was like, cool. Hopefully nobody has murders. That'd be great. You know what I mean? Like I was fortunate enough that it wasn't taken.
Yeah.
And like I was able to get my handle for that. That was convenient. It's funny to me now because, you know, with all the craziness going on in the community with the discussion of like, you know, drones being used for different
Okay,
use
tell
cases.
us your thoughts on that, because John actually said that you've been commenting a lot. So just share your thoughts on that. But wait,
Shit,
I'm gonna go
okay.
pee quick, okay?
All right,
Gather
yeah,
your
yeah.
thoughts, plan it out, okay?
Yeah, oh man, this is gonna be fun.
Are we gonna start fighting?
No, I'm not. I am not the I'm not the fighting type. That's for sure. I am, but I'm not. I'm also a respectful kind of person where I respect other people's opinions. But I think, yeah, I have been, commenting quite a bit. You're not wrong, John. I think for me, and I'll mention it to him when he gets back. But I think for me, one of the biggest things that I can't stand is hypocrisy. I cannot stand hypocrisy. Like people who are hypercritical while simultaneously being hypocritical is like the most enraging thing to me. And just because you're on the internet should not give you a pass. Like just because you can say what you think you can say on the internet, it should not give you a pass to be hypocritical, right? Should have went with Mr. Steele. Yeah, Mr. Steele. Mr. Steele, your girl. That should have been my FPV handle. Mr. Steele, your girl. That'd have been funny. Anyway, I was just mentioning. I was mentioning to John because he had said that I've been commenting a lot, and it's true because I think in this particular conversation, one of the things that immediately triggered me was Mad Tech's video. It immediately triggered me what he was saying because I found it so insanely hypocritical that I just had to point it out. Like what you're saying is completely contradictory to your actions, and it's so infuriating to me, right? So let me tell you why. I can't remember how long ago. I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 months ago now. Mind you, I've watched a lot of Mad Tech's content.
Oh, I think we all.
Yeah, he's given a lot of great contributions to the community, and I appreciate those things, right? And I remember I was watching one of his live streams, and on his live stream, he pulls up an image of Russian soldiers standing in front of thousands and thousands of FPV drones. And you zoom in, and you can clearly identify that they are iFlight drones. Thousands.
Oh, I saw that.
And in my brain, I'm thinking, is he gonna like point that out as being kind of shitty of iFlight? And no, what he did was he made up every excuse in the book why iFlight wouldn't have had any idea of how the Russians got their drones. Like they must have ordered him from some warehouse that somebody had. Like he just jumped through so many mental gymnastic hoops and said all this crazy shit that like didn't make any sense to try to like defend iFlight providing an order of drones to the Russian army, rather than just calling a spade a spade. And sure, whatever, dude. Like, you don't realize or you don't believe, oh, iFlight came out, and he even he went to their website and pulled up a thing. He's like, there's no way that they know about this. Look, they make you click a box that say you're not going to use this for wartime. Like, bro, come. Like,
well, you know what? You know what's funny? That
it's so
when I
naive
tried
and
to
gullible.
order from Runcam, like, I don't know. When I tried ordering from Runcam, they did the thing where it's like, we need to know where you live before you order. So I like that's like straight up, like to me, I think it's wrong to kill people. No one should really kill anyone.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah, that's
anybody
how I feel.
thinks
But at the
that's
same
wrong.
time, I'm just like, knives, right? We all,
Yeah.
you can kill with a knife, you can eat dinner with a knife. Like,
Yeah.
it's not really,
Well,
it's not the tool, it's what you do with it.
I also have a completely different perspective. One, because like
Yeah.
I said earlier, I was in the military. I served in the
Yeah.
military for 10 years, and I've done some shit when I was in the military, and I did it because I joined the military to serve my country.
Yeah.
A lot of members in my family have all served in the military. There's there's that pride that we have in having done that. And that's something that I always wanted to do. I've had some really beautiful times in the military, and I've had some insanely sad, dark, depressing times in the military. And it's not sunshine and rainbows. It's
Oh,
just facts. When I was in the military, I was a UAV/SUAS operator. I flew UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. I flew small unmanned aerial systems. I was directly involved with that. And I'm telling you right now, over a decade ago, we were flying drones, small ones, big ones, with FPV technology. We've been doing that for decades. And to think that like it was news to the world that, hey, all of a sudden drones have cameras on them and it makes them, bro, we've been doing that for a long time.
yeah.
So like that's the number one thing that I feel like, just because you don't know that side of the house, because you're not aware of it, you were not involved with it, you never heard of it, that doesn't mean that it didn't exist. So the first thing when people are like, oh, they're stealing my hobby to hurt people, and in my brain I'm like, they've been doing it before the hobby existed. Like, the
Yeah.
whole fact that RC planes and stuff exists is because the military was
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to remote control vehicles. And somebody was like, bro, this would be fun to do on my off time. Like,
Mhm.
the RC community, the fact that this controller exists and does things is military technology. It's RC. Been around, been a thing for fucking decades. And it's like,
Well, the
people say
wars
it's
developed
crazy.
so much stuff. Like, that's technology is
Yeah.
developed because of all that stuff, right?
Another really important piece of the puzzle too, that people are sort of, they're not aware, and I understand they're not aware, but like I said, I'm still, after having got out of the Navy in 2020, I was recruited by a contractor, defense contractor. I work on a military base, and one of the primary things that this specific military base specializes in is in UAV and SUAS operations, right? I am not joking when I say this. We actually got one of their guys who could come over from that program and started working for us. I told him what I do in the FPV community. He was like, bro, I need to introduce you to those guys. And I was like, cool, let's go over there and meet them. I walk into this facility, and they've got drones of all types everywhere, all kinds of drones all over the place. They're building them. They're doing all kinds of, they're experimenting. They're doing all kinds of things. They're developing tech. They're doing this stuff. I know shit. I walked in, they've got this massive screen on the wall. And you know what's on the screen? Velocidrone. These people have a contract. This military government defense people have a contract with Velocidrone to be used as their simulator of choice for teaching their pilots how to fly these drones. This has been a thing for years, for almost a decade, not specifically Velocidrone, but this program has been a thing for decades. They have FPV drones. They build them using all kinds of technology, whether it's a Betaflight drone on a Betaflight flight controller. Some of them are built from Arduinos. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've been doing this stuff for years. Like, to think that the military hasn't been on top of the ball with what the technology of what this represents and the precision of flying an FPV style drone, to think that they haven't been doing that for years is like, I get it, fine, you weren't involved, but I assure you it's been going on for years, much longer than people realize.
Well, people
And
people hate Rotor Riot. Like, some people just do it. It gives them a bigger excuse to do that, right?
Well, and look, I get it. I get where people, like, you know, if me trying to take the hypocrisy out of it again, I explained why I was mad about Mad Tex making his video, because to me it was I didn't finish up with that. After he did that live stream where he posted the freaking videos about Russia and then talked about them and made all the excuses for them, the next day he released a review video on the iFlight Defender, the drone. And that's when it kind of all came to for me. I was like, all right, Mads, all right, okay, cool. I see what you're doing. You're cool. You know, you're cool with them doing what they're doing and supporting Russia or whatever the fuck, whatever. Okay. I'm not mad at that. That's your choice. That's your opinion. But then when he came out with this video trying to call for a blacklist on Rotor Riot, I was like, what? That is so insanely hypocritical. And it's like, why? Like, out of nowhere. But you know what? I get that people want to hate on Rotor Riot for whatever reason, XYZ reason, insert here, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, our community is really nuts with, like, oh my goodness, you're just doing it for the views, the money, or whatever. Like you said, right? Like you said, you've made $100. I make $50 a month off this YouTube. I'm just like, do you know how much time I put into it? Like, I work like a part-time job on this thing, and I don't make money from YouTube. You know what I mean? And when you do affiliate sales, you get a whole 3%. It's amazing.
Yeah. And you know, John is bringing up a point that, you know, when asked about it, Mads Tech said he's going to probably drop T-Motor. T-Motor is one of my sponsors. Do I know that T-Motor is providing parts to both sides of the table? I do. Do I fault them for it? I think it's shitty. I think it's super shitty. It's plain and simple. I mean, people dying is
business,
shitty,
right? Like, if you're selling guns,
exactly. We literally live in a capitalist society. You know how much other things that I am okay with that involve
like they're in China, dying, right? So they're in China, so everyone can attack each other. That's good for them, you know.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And you know what? I think there's another side of the coin too. Don't get me wrong. Here's another part too. Because of what I know and the fact that I'm in the defense industry, the fact that I work in the air traffic controlling space of military capabilities, I know because of data that FPV drones, very specifically FPV drones, have significantly reduced the amount of collateral damage, innocent people, civilians dying.
Yeah, Drew was talking about that on
and people don't put two and two together. If people are going to kill each other because they're assholes, right? Like, that's just human nature. Russia's attacking Ukraine is defending themselves. You know, it's so impossible for somebody like you and me, you know, living in the comfort of my basement where I'm not worried about bombs and tanks going off outside to judge. But like, I'll tell you right now, if, let's just say hypothetically, you crazy Canadians get a wild hair up your ass and want to freaking attack America, more power to you. But I will absolutely use my drones against an attacker.
Well, I'm going to use my drones against you, murders.
I would absolutely use whatever tool I need to defend my family.
Instead of a Coliseum, we'll have drone battle.
Facts. You know, it's just crazy. You see these people who want to be passive people, right? Like, oh, I would never hurt bro. Wait till somebody's on your doorstep trying to kill your family. You would do anything in your power to defend them. It doesn't matter what tools you have to use, you will do it in a heartbeat.
I'm a knife person.
Yeah, there you go. It's just facts. I would absolutely use my FPV drones. And would my first thought be like, oh geez, I really hope my actions of defending my country and my family and my loved ones doesn't affect the hobby and we incur new regulations because of it somewhere down the road.
Well,
What a
that's why I
fucking
don't care
dumbass
about
way
any of
to
that.
talk.
Like people talk about like,
Silly,
oh, you're making it bad for the hobby. I'm like, our hobby was built with like Trappy flying like a huge drone across like the city. And like that was like the start of our hobby. These giant crappy drones
Bro,
flying
don't even
across
get me
the
started
city.
with trapping.
But this is what I mean. That's how our hobby started. It started because of a pile of idiots. And I'm just like, so now,
Like, do people know where Trappy lives?
doesn't he live in Germany?
No.
Where does he live?
He lives in China.
Does he?
How do you think TBS is making it afloat? How do you think TBS has continued doing what it's doing, even though it ain't built anything new for fucking how long? Like, come on, people. Like, put two and two together. If you don't realize that these companies have been servicing government contracts, military contracts for years, that's your fault for not being.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. Like people say analog is going to die. I'm like, analog's going to do better than ever. There's going to be more people making it because it's the cheapest way to cause some trouble.
Why do you, bro?
I know.
Why do you think Foxeer came out with a 2-watt analog module so that you could fly longer? No, they did it because they need that shit. And
we're going to take out the helicopters. We're going to take out the tanks.
Crazy, dude. Like, analog is not dead. It's alive and well in Ukraine right now, bro. It's not dead at all. And it's here's another thing too. Look, going back and bringing it back to this, the innocent deaths of people is insane. People who should not be implicated in war, and them dying and losing their families and stuff like that. That's horrible, horrific, right? But like, wars are going to happen, and I don't stand for. I don't want to be. I don't want to see war continue. I'd love to see humankind fucking be nice to each other all day long forever. But it's not going to be the case,
there
right?
Would be too many people then.
Well, not even that. It's just like it'd be great if we can all just get the fuck along, but we're not going to. No matter what you think in your brain, no matter how passive you want to be for the rest of your life, somebody is going to come take something from you when they want to. And
well, nowadays, like no one here can buy a house. Like houses where I live, they're all $1 million, $2 million. It's
well, yeah, the economy is obviously super freaking whacked, and that's a whole nother thing. But think about this for 2 seconds. Everybody's like, oh, well, if the public sees that our FPV drones are being used to hurt people, they're going to write legislation to prevent us from flying our drones for hobby purposes. And that's a complete. The mental gymnastics to get there is just insane, right? It's just
but what I mean is that's why I don't worry about flying my little 200-gram drone around people or buildings or anywhere. People look at me like I'm irresponsible, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah, and if that's your mentality, bro, it's your hobby.
You can do everything right. You can do everything right, and then like what happened in what's it called? That place where like chicks go and influencers, they all go to that place. The big building, the tall building.
I thought you were talking about Jeff Epstein's island.
What's the biggest building in the world? The tallest one? Where is it?
The Burj Khalifa yeah.
Where is that?
It's in Dubai.
Dubai, yes. So in Dubai, there was a drone I used to fly. It's called the Patch Ray, and it was my favorite 3-inch drone. And the designer is in Dubai, and his name is Pavel, Russian guy in Dubai. Anyways, so he's made this drone. It's wonderful. I love flying it. And then basically someone flew a drone or something into an airplane, and now in Dubai, FPV drones are illegal.
Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong. I understand the fear of legislation coming for our hobby.
Yeah.
But I assure you, it was going to come anyway, regardless of the drones being used in war. And I promise you, you may not realize this, but people who are sitting in Congress and in the Senate, they know the use case of drones. Yeah. They know, just like I do. They've been used for years in military spaces. It's not news to them. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's not news to them.
I know. That's why I try and have fun. That's why I go and dive the CN Tower whenever I get the chance, right? Because I'm just like, who knows how long I can do this?
The rules are going to come as they come regardless. It's just the nature of using airspace. People, This is airspace. There is going to be a time where we have flying cars. I believe it or not, we are going to have
I believe
flying
it because it's
cars.
just like we could do it. Like all I have to do is get a big enough ESC, flight controller, and motors, and I could make something. I could program it, and I could bloody fly it. And I die, but I could do it.
Well, do you think for 2 seconds, the second we have flying cars outside, and I can just literally drive down my road and go take off like in fucking Back to the Future, do you think that our government is going to be like, yeah, you can fly a few drones wherever the fuck you want? No, they're gonna regulate it because they're gonna try to keep people safe in the air, like they already do with airplanes. That's why we can't fly near airports. There's going to be rules, but like, it's crazy to me that all of a sudden FPV people are like, now I care about rules. Yet, meanwhile, every single time you go out to fly, you're breaking a rule. You're breaking a regulation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're putting on goggles, and I can't see line of sight of my drone, so I'm not paying attention to the rules right now. But all of a sudden,
you're not flying at 25 milliwatts, so it's just like
exactly.
You're all bad. All
Bro,
of you.
I don't have a ham license. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus. Like, there's the and I tried making this point too, how important it is if we really want to save our hobby. Us fighting about whether or not drones should be used in whatever use case that we think they should be or shouldn't be, it doesn't matter. If we're fighting amongst ourselves in our community, that's going to be the downfall.
Exactly. That's how it's always been. Same thing with the reptile community. No one from the government is coming and getting anyone except for Philly life.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, again, this goes back to because of the knowledge that I have in the space that I work in professionally, the connections that of people that I know, and the things that, information that I have access to. We are very fortunate that we have people who advocate for us as a hobby. Flight Test, there's several entities that a lot of people don't even know about that advocate for the hobby of RC planes, RC drones, anything in the air having to do with RC. We have quite a bit of advocacy for us out there, and it's even the FAA. I've spoken to people from the FAA on this. They don't want to end our hobby. They want to allow us. You know why? Because it's
cool.
Perfect. No, because it's a technology that has really, really far-reaching implications in a very good way. STEM programs in schools. People love the idea of flight. The FAA loves the idea of flight. Now, do they want somebody to strap a bomb and fucking blow up a building? Absolutely not. Nobody does. So whatever they can do to implement safeties to try to prevent that, sure. But like, so fucking what? Go fly out in a band in the middle of nowhere. We do that shit anyways. We are already doing that. I try to get the fuck away from people as much as possible when I fly. I don't want to fly near anybody. I try to go out in the middle of nowhere, right? And I assure you, no matter what regulations come, I'm still going to go out in the middle of nowhere and fly my drones. Facts,
Yeah.
And the other thing too, I think, and don't get me wrong, I definitely understand people who want to be super passive towards war and they want to end killing. I respect that. By all means, I respect that. Just be consistent. That's all I ask. Just be consistent in that mindset, right? Like, if you're going to sit here and call out a company that you think is doing something for the war or whatever, then like, call out other things that you do in your life and maybe try to change that. Like, and this is why I didn't give as much shit to Bot Grinder in his video. In fact, I agreed with his perspective on it, right?
But shut up, Gareth. I watched your last video, okay? I saw you stupid 5-inch.
That's fucked up. But this is why I actually appreciate Bot. People give Bot a lot of shit, but at least Bot in his worldview, in his space, he tries really hard to remain as consistent as possible in what he knows. And I know that he just isn't privy to everything that I know in terms of like how we use drones. I know that. I understand. And that's why I can empathize and understand where he's coming from. But at least he's trying to maintain a consistency, right? Like, if he's going to sit there and boycott Rotor Riot, which he hasn't liked Rotor Riot for many, many years, But if he's going to boycott Rotor Riot, he's also going to try to make a stand against any other company that he knows, within reason, is also doing shit that he doesn't agree with. And that's why I don't have a problem with what he said. I don't have a problem with his video. I thought XJet's video was really good. I thought XJet's video was great because he posed perspectives on the situation. He had his opinion, but he definitely was able to he was a soundboard for both sides, and I thought that was well put, right? At the very least, you can see that he was trying to remain objective, right? Whereas, like, I had a problem with Ian's video because it was insanely subjective. It was very much cherry picked and is insanely hypocritical. I didn't necessarily like Kmart's video. I think he was another content creator who put out a video. I thought his was just not researched. He was just regurgitating talking points rather than actually doing any level of research.
Well, I'm guilty of that too, because I watched the Mad Things. I put my little thing out, but it was just like now that I think of it, like I don't think like because I see both, right? Like I see the hypocrisy in like in saying that any company, because all the companies are doing it, right? Like
Yeah.
like I see the hypocrisy in that. Like to me, it's just like, yeah, I don't think anyone should kill anyone, and like you can choose who you want to support. I never support Rotor Riot anyways because I just find their stuff like overpriced, and I get everything usually from China anyways. So.
Yeah, and you know, I'm honest about. People are like, "Oh, you're just being what do they call you when you're like simping or whatever for a company or a shill or something?"
Yeah,
I love Rotor Riot, and I'm honest about it.
I like
Because
the entertainment. I appreciate all the entertainment and content they've given us.
Well, like I mentioned, when I first got in the hobby and I started researching FPV, their channel, their videos were the first videos to pop up to me, got me interested, excited about the hobby. And specifically, I've never necessarily been like the biggest fan of Drew. I've never really had a conversation with the guy, so I don't know him personally. I can't say.
I always, he was one of the first ones I started watching. So drip videos,
but
and then
his video that he had on Rotor Riot. This was back when I started. He did a walkthrough of how to set up a drone in beta flight with the DJI 03 air unit, and his video was instrumental to me being able to do the same thing and fly a drone, to actually build, because I started with the DJI FPV drone. After I broke that, obviously, because you're going to break it and find that thing, I went out and ordered a bunch of parts offline, like Amazon, because I didn't know any better, some stuff from Rotor Riot, and then I ended up building the drone, and I used specifically Drew's video to put that drone together and get it flying. And that guy could literally, he's got his opinions. He's his own man. He can make his own grown-ass adult choices. But I will always appreciate the fact that he took the time to do that to get me involved in the hobby. And I'm the kind of person that I don't just turn my back on that kind of an effort, because I know how hard it is to make videos like that. I know how hard it is to a lot of people want to take, right? And he gave that to the community. He gave that to me, and I used it. And I respect him on that level. Boom. That level alone. And everything else that I've seen, I've watched Rotor Riot try to do with my own eyes, right? These people have, everybody who was involved with Rotor Riot since I started flying has essentially, they've all been pretty much weeded out, right? Like all the bad guys, right? I mean, Chad Capper hasn't been involved with Rotor Riot. People don't like Chad Capper. I don't necessarily agree with Chad Capper in a lot of situations. I can see where he was sort of coming from in the CNN thing. That was another thing. People just flat out lying about a CNN interview just totally had me fucking fired up. But yeah, he's not involved. Rotor Riot is like 14 people. The company of Rotor Riot is like Stacy Wright now, because she's the president. Tyler Crane, the general manager. These are both amazing human beings, by the way. I've personally met them and spent time with them, and they are phenomenal human beings. I consider myself a pretty decent judge of character. Bernard Diaz, who is their manager and overall build guy, right? And all the builders behind the scenes, the people picking the parts and putting the drones together. You have Drew, who's moved over to Unusual Machines, and he gave his interview. I fucking have mad respect for Dax's video. I don't know if you got a chance to see Dax's
Yep.
video where it's so crazy to me that like Drew was like, bro, people could have just called me and asked me these questions, but no, everybody wants to give some crazy ass conflated, cherry picked version of whatever they think is happening rather than just ask the guy straight up, hey, do you want to come on and give your opinions on this? And he made such a really good point where he said, people have his phone number. They could have taken the opportunity instead of trying to make a tabloid, be like tabloid content creators. They could have been real journalists. And that's a freaking good point. You could have just asked the guy straight up, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you making this choice? Why are you being involved with it? Rather than just guessing, rather than making crap up.
Because people want to know. It's like, how many times, so many times people will ask me, what's the best bind and fly or whatever, and then they'll ask me, what about the Emacs thing? And it's like, they just want you to tell them that what they think or feel is true sometimes.
I love you, Gareth. I appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, I know you spent a lot of money on drones because of me, man. I appreciate you. But yeah, no, you're right though. But it's it's one of those things where like I think it is worth so much more to get another person's perspective. And people, even after watching his interview, you could tell, you can read the comments of Dax's video and realize the people who didn't watch the video all the way through, they maybe watched like 3 minutes of it and then turned it off, made a comment, oh, blah, 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 when he literally addressed the thing they're bitching about later on in the video, right? Anyway, so like looking at it from Drew's perspective, number one, the guy's been involved in tech for a long time, right? He has a background even before FPV where he was involved in the technical space, right? The guy has his own ambition to continue on making money because unfortunately, bro, I own this house that I live in now because I make money. If you want to dog me because I work as for a defense contractor and that's how I make my money, fine. But you know what? I put food on the table for my kids. My kids don't have anything that they have everything that they've ever asked for. I support my family, I support my country, and I've done whatever I've done to make my way in this world to be what I would say is relatively successful to myself, right? You can judge me all you want, but you've never walked a second in my shoes, right? So like I don't judge you on what you do with your life to pay your bills, bro. Like you shouldn't have the audacity to do the same thing to me, right? And in that regard, I don't fault Drew for wanting to be an entrepreneur, or not entrepreneur necessarily, but more of like having the tenacity to continue, doing what he's doing. I see.
Amen to all that.
What was that?
I said amen to all of that.
Yeah. No, and
like, you do what you got to do.
If you look at the outcome of what can be, number one, if you look at what he's trying to do, Drew is trying to use unusual machines. Everybody wants to hyper focus on the Fang drone, the drone that is the strike precision. Another thing, people don't even know what that means, but the precision strike drone that they're marketing. Aside from that, he wants to supply parts in the US. He wants to manufacture parts in the US for FPV. They're making a flight controller in the United States. That is awesome. And people can't even realize how awesome that is. If we can get to the point where we aren't having to rely on China for everything, we are going to be in a significantly better place. You know what I'm saying? As a hobby, as consumers. And I think that's something that people aren't realizing on what Unusual Machines is going to try to achieve. Are they going to have to sell parts to government contractors or to, DODs? Yes. You know why? Because they freaking use drones, dude. Believe it or not, your law enforcement has drones. Believe it or not, the military in the country you live in has drones. These people use drones just as much as you use drones. They need parts too.
I'm just picturing Will Ferrell right now.
Why shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't Rotorite be the one providing the parts? At least Rotorite is going to turn around and invest that money, back into making things for us. Like, come on, man. He made such a great point. They're like, oh, because one of the comments that you'd seen was that, Rotor Riot is taking your money and then they're using your money to pay for the development and manufacturing of things that are going to be used to kill people. No, I assure you, Rotor Riot, the consumer side of the house, makes damn near nothing. They probably make just enough money to pay the people who work there, keep the lights on, and just a little bit of revenue outside of that.
People don't realize how bad the FPV
They don't know how
business
companies
is.
work, bro. They really don't know how companies work.
Like, I can just tell you, like, straight up, because I order everything wholesale. And
Yeah.
okay, so I get a battery for $8. By the time it gets here, it's $15, and then I can sell it for $20. So I get to make a $5 profit. Whereas as a hairdresser, I go to the salon, I cut a woman's hair, I get $80. She gives me a $20 tip. I make $100 an hour cutting hair.
Yeah.
FPV.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. It's almost impossible to make money FPV unless you're bloody manufacturing.
Bro, the margins are so, and people, again, they don't
They don't
of course there's the
understand.
people that don't understand money.
And the taxes, all the taxes to get everything here, it's insane. The manufacturers are making money.
The simple fact that we have to rely on a country like China for everything is enough reason to do what we need to do in the United States to start making shit here. And this isn't just for FPV parts. There's been a push to try to get companies to come back to make shit here in America. It's not going to be cheap at first. It's not, because it's going to cost a little bit of extra money, but at least it's something that's made here on our soils.
Being self-sufficient.
It's going to take money to start to be able to get to the point. Like Baby Z brings up a really great point. Man, wouldn't it be amazing if we could get a $30 flight controller here in the US? Hell yeah, it would. It's not going to be that way at first. We're going to have to, put money into it as consumers. And again, it's not just the
even the components, getting the components. Even if you build them here, you still have to get the components. Right?
Well, I mean, that's another thing too. So like you can whittle it all the way down to the silicone, right?
Yeah.
The silicone that's used in the transistors that we have on our shit, on our boards, not made here. But if we want to get to the point that we are making our stuff here in America, it's going to take time.
We need American slave labor.
You need the defense budget to put money into it because you know how China's doing it.
Prisoners, you get the prisoners and everything to do everything.
Well, they've got cheaper labor, but it's also because almost everything they do, the government, the military is investing in. Anything that's worthwhile, the government and military is investing in. So all the money, the taxes they generate, and all the revenue they generate that just goes into the military for defense and R&D and everything goes right back into the economy to create things. It's lessen the price of things because they're paying themselves essentially. And if we don't start doing the same thing, we're not going to catch up anytime soon. Like, yeah, it sucks, but it's the world we live in until we all reach a place of like a point of where we're all got world peace going on. It's just the reality, And I understand people are going to hate on that fact all day long. There's going to be people who like, well, I don't want that to be my reality. I don't agree with it. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm going to boycott.
And we're all allowed to feel like that's the other thing. It's like you're allowed to feel whatever you want, right? Anyone, whether it's right or wrong. Like if you don't like something, look away, go away, stop watching it, right? Like
don't do it, don't participate. Good for you,
right?
Absolutely, you have that right. And another thing is like, bro, we are so fortunate. We are so fortunate to live in a country like America where we have that right to do that. There are countries out there that, like, if you wanted to be a passive person and not support the military, not join the military, not serve in your military, there are countries out there that will literally put you on a firing squad and end your life because you chose not to do that. Like, we are so fortunate to have the rights that we have in our Western world, in our Western society, our ideology. And it's like, I had made a comment to somebody about how like America spreads freedom, right? And they misquoted me and said, America doesn't spread peace. And I said, I didn't say they spread peace. I said, we spread freedom. There's a huge difference. Freedom is not cheap. Freedom does not come without the cost of major costs. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I mean, our country was found on standing up against a pretty massive empire, and now we're pretty fortunate to be one of the most, I think, greatest countries in the world. You know, for sure. And you guys up there in Canada are just tagging along. You know, tagging along because you're our neighbors. You don't have to
Well,
worry
see,
about
the funny
nothing.
thing with Canada, our culture is that we have everyone else's, right? Like
Yeah,
almost no one will be like, "Hey, I'm Canadian. I was born here," right? But I'll say I'm Spanish and German, right? That's what I'll say. Or everyone's Italian or everyone's Greek. Like no one in Canada,
is
like the
Canadian.
whitest of white people that like hockey. There's those
We're all friends.
Canadians,
Yeah,
and they're just weird. But like Canada's culture is kind of that we have everyone else's culture.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like we have everything here, and it's like it's neat in a way that's like I can go down the street, I can get any food I want, Greek food, Chinese food, Vietnamese food, and it's really nice how multicultural we are.
yeah. Do you have a pet beaver though? I don't. I'm trying to think if that would be worth investing into or looking into a pet beaver.
I tell my wife
Never
to
mind. I forgot
shave.
that could get turned. Yeah, that never that. I'm not even gonna. Never mind. Dang it, Gareth! Did you just set me up, dude? You just set me up, didn't you?
I couldn't help it.
Never gonna forgive this guy now. No, actually, I don't know if you know Gareth, but he's a phenomenal photographer, and he has that fortune of
I see his Instagram. I see older
yes,
ladies.
this man has some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen on the planet. Like, just come take my picture, Gareth, bro, dude. Fortunate, lucky you, Gareth. You're a lucky guy. But you got the skills, so it makes sense. You know, it
He's
makes
gonna
sense
come
why you
here and
come
take
here.
my portrait one day, okay, Garrett?
Yeah, for real. Oh yeah, exactly, Gareth. I want you to shoot me like one of your French girls.
Yeah, yes, yes. Hey, you're gonna come to Canada. Are you gonna come to Toronto? Are we gonna hang out then?
Me? How far is? Let me see here. Toronto. I definitely want to stop in Toronto for sure.
Okay.
Um.
So we got to make that happen. We'll do the CN Tower together.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, yeah, Gareth. I'm sure it's a tough job, super tough. But no, I definitely want to go to Toronto. I've already been to Halifax before. Halifax was fun. It was like a college town in my experience, and I was at that age where I was like younger and into partying, so I had a great time. Met a couple nice women out there. That was a long time ago, but I haven't. Other than that, I haven't been anywhere else in Canada yet. Definitely want to try to get to Toronto. Um, yeah, we'll see. I'm trying to see if I can try to do it this year because I do plan on going up to the Pacific Northwest and then kind of making my way up into Canada and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Nice.
Do
Yeah, if
people?
you do, you tell me and we'll hang out.
All right, man, for sure.
I'll get you into some trouble.
That's me. I'm a really lucky guy. Super lucky. You know, nothing that I've done has been all just because of hard work. It's also been because of a serious amount of luck and fortune. Um, and I've been fortunate enough to stay out of trouble. So,
We'll have each
you know,
other as spotters at least. The thing
yeah,
I
yeah,
always worry about, the thing I worry about the most is like I'll just go to some places where it's like blatantly like I'm standing there on a sidewalk looking up as everyone's walking by the like I'm just
yep,
like one day someone's just gonna come and slap me.
yeah. No, and it's funny. Actually, I'm curious what you. Yeah, that's actually a really great point, Garrett. That Mr. Steele is over there just hanging out with a bunch of Europeans. Lucky him, and that looks like so much fun. And see, that's cool. See, you know, I've met Steele a few times. In fact, every year I see him at Rotor Ride. People may not know this or realize this, but I always get a picture with him, and I always at the end of my video for Rotor Ride, I always put a put his picture of me and him together and say we're best friends. He doesn't even know who the fuck I am. But we've met a few times and talked. He's actually a pretty cool dude. But what a cool ass way as a person in the FPV community makes content, been a part of the community for a long time, for many years. One of the greats, one of the OGs, goes on a tour to Europe and just hitting people up. Hey man, I'm gonna be out here. Let's get together and fly. Cool as shit. Like I love that. I love the fact, and it's just an ode to how cool the guy is. You know, you may not necessarily agree with all of his opinions or whatever, or
Well,
it
I
doesn't
like
matter.
him. I like him. He's always just, you know what? He's always just said what he felt. He's always
Yeah.
been like straight up and honest, and he
Yeah.
likes his stuff. Like he flew the same stuff forever, like till he went digital. But it was just like you find something that works, you like it. Like I
Yeah.
thought when he took the AOS, like I thought that was hilarious.
When he
People were
fucking
like,
sat
"Oh
there
my
and
god, that's
slammed
so
the ALS.
terrible! He's so mean." Kebab got like defensive, and I was just like, when he took that drone and like threw it or whatever, because I was like, that was like the ugliest quad I've ever seen.
Yeah, but hey, look now. You're gonna have people who think the AOS is the greatest flying quad or whatever the hell they think. But I would argue the vast majority of the community would say that the AOS, even if it flies good, it is ugly and it breaks way too easy. Not worth buying or building, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
So I have the
Mr.
same
Steele wasn't wrong,
argument
right?
though. Like my same, like okay, so your little the 2.5 that frame weighs like 52 grams.
Yeah, it's super light.
Okay, so no, it weighs 52 grams. So my discus.
Oh yeah, yours is super light. Yeah.
In 4mm T700 carbon, 33 grams.
T700. No, I'm just kidding.
T700, the finest T700.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Finest, the finest.
I don't
You know
trust
what?
corporations there. Manufacturers.
You got to do it. You got to build it. You can do a build video.
I would love to. No, I would for sure love to do it. No, but it's funny because it kind of brings you back to like the quality of carbon, right? Like that's a whole nother topic. But you have like Impulse RC. They're like, yeah, T700 carbon, Apex, best quad in the world, right?
Well, it depends. It depends because I've seen even this is like there's a manufacturer. There's different manufacturers, and I've used different manufacturers, and when you use different ones, you get different quality.
Absolutely.
It took a long time. It took a long time to find something I like.
That's because you have a lot of manufacturers that say this is T700, but when you actually get into it, it's not, right? Like and the problem is that there isn't a good enough governing body to really kind of keep tabs on that, and that's something like Quad. I have to give it to Quad Mula. Everybody's is this T700 carbon? They will not say that they're using T700 carbon. They're really honest about the fact that they work with a manufacturer that builds their carbon, and they worked really hard to fine tune the resin that they use to put the carbon together to try to make it as strong as possible, even though it's really thin, right? Like Quad Mula frames are really thin. They're lightweight and there's not a lot to it. But fuck, man, for how thin it is, surprisingly freaking durable. Everybody who flies one's like, I was shocked, dead ass. Like I remember when I first built the Quad Mula Siren frame when they sent me one, I was like, this frame came together beautifully. Packaging was beautiful, flies amazing. I tuned it, flies better than anything I've flown before, but it's gonna break. It's gonna break as soon as I go take it outside and go crash once. I had just been burned by Axis flying. I had been burned by a bunch of Apex was burning me like crazy. I always flew Apexes, and I was just breaking them left and right. I went and flew that Quad Mula frame, and I was so insanely shocked at how durable that frame was, considering how thin it was. And it ever since then, I've taken a really hard look at quality carbon, and I'm super critical. Like you can say all day long your carbon's T700, but then I'm going to walk outside and crash in a tree, and it's just going to snap like a little brittle twig, right? And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't
Mine's a nightmare to build. That's like mine's so tight because I stick it all in one stack. So it's a nightmare to build, but if you can build it.
Yeah. Yeah, Garrett was just talking about the airframe. Yeah, that frame actually looks pretty sick in terms of like what they're going for the design. The only thing I don't like, I like what they're trying to do with the front camera cage part. I just recently started flying with a little bit higher of a camera angle. I was 25 for the longest time, but now I've actually moved it up to 35, and it's mostly because I just want to go fast. I like the feeling of going faster. and increasing the camera angle has done a lot for me to like push myself to fly faster. So that's why I've been doing that. But like that little Era camera cage, they don't have one available that you can order in 35. I think there are people or there are files out there where you can try to get it in a 35 degree. Because I thought about trying it myself. But yeah, that's the only one thing I'm kind of like about. I want to see how that works out.
Well, I'll make you a custom 35.
All right, that'd be sick. I'd appreciate it big time. I want to try it though. I want to try that one out.
But basically, you'll have to take an 03 and make it totally naked.
That's fine. I have tons of
and you can only fly it naked.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, in the forest, naked, flying it naked, dancing.
I'll take. I'll put up Instagram videos of me flying naked.
Yeah,
it's like
I'm finally fully naked, and it's great.
You know how viral
good.
Why hasn't anybody done that yet? You got all these people doing all kinds of loops and gaps and shit with their drones and trying to get clicks and views. Bro, just
circumcise myself.
Stand on top of the cliff and fly it behind your bare ass. I bet you'll get tons of views. I bet. Put that on Instagram.
I did it from a shark. I did a flight around a whole pile of children in a park while inside a blow-up shark.
Gareth will take the photos. I'm sure you would, Gareth. You've got plenty of expertise.
Oh, man. Gareth, did you see those? There's some really fun LaCroix commercials. Did you guys see those? Those are funny. Those are funny.
LaCroix. You know what's funny? I actually took French in high school. So I'm a lot of people don't know this, but I'm El Salvadorian and Native American is pretty much most of what I'm made up of. But my mom was first generation in the United States. So my mom grew up speaking Spanish as her first language. My grandmother doesn't speak any English. I'm myself am fluent in Spanish. So when I had the opportunity to take a language class in high school, I was like, I'm not going to take Spanish. That's too easy. I wanted to take French. And I only had one goal. My whole goal of taking French class in high school was because I wanted to French kiss a girl in French class.
Yeah,
exactly. I just wanted to pull off French kissing a girl in French class. I pulled that off, and then I got out of that class and started taking something else. It was great.
So I tell people Spanish and German, but it's Austrian and Ecuadorian.
Okay.
So our families are close.
Yeah. Well, even on my family that's from El Salvador. That's on my mom's side. My mom's dad's side.
You have pupusas.
What was that?
Does your mom make good pupusas?
No, my grandmother does. My grandmother makes
pupusas.
But yeah, I have a lot of actual Spanish heritage from my grandfather's side. I actually have family in Spain, so when I go out there in Spain and Portugal, I live right on the border. I still go out there and visit my family and stuff, like second, third cousins and all that stuff. But it's pretty cool.
You have to have a Spanish adventure. Hola, mi amigo. What just happened?
I think we got kicked for a second, but it brought us back.
The audio changed.
It did. Now it's like
I can hear myself. What happened? Hello. The audio changed on your side.
On my side?
Did something just die, or did you unplug something, or what just happened?
No, I think we just kind of dropped for a quick second.
Because now I can hear myself on your phone. Hello. Do you? Yeah, I can hear myself now. I couldn't hear myself before.
Let me try to exit out, and then I'll try to rejoin. Let's see.
You didn't have me on like headphones or something, did you? Did you guys notice the difference? Yeah, it sounds like the mic went. Hello.
Is this better?
I think so. Okay,
Sounds,
I can't hear myself. Good.
there you go. Yeah, sorry about that. The mic
What
sounds
was
like
it?
it. I
Do
don't
you
know.
know?
I think it just like it to me on my side, it looked like the stream ended and then it came back and then it was just like super loud.
Okay.
So I think you're probably just hearing yourself because it was just so loud. I'm checking on my my skull coming along.
Show it to us.
The freaking bro, this printer is so sick, man.
Yep.
It's this is gonna be a long print. This is like a 20-hour print.
Are you printing? It looks like you're printing one of those dragons.
No, it's a reticulated skull. So the jawbone, so like the
Like a reticulated python skull?
no, like a human skull.
Oh,
This is the jawbone for the skull, and this is gonna be like this is the base of the skull right here.
cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
So I'm like, do you do any of that, like skull stuff, like animal things or any of that, like preserving or whatever that
No,
stuff's called?
no, I mean, you know, I was involved in the medical field for a while when I first got out of high school. I was a little bit undecided what I wanted to do, whether it was getting into electronics. I did that first right out the gate, but then I kind of was like, I'm not interested in that right now. I went back and started doing, you know, trying to get into like nursing and medical field stuff. And I did a lot of work in the ER and bones and, you know, anatomy has always been very much intriguing to me. So I definitely have like a appreciation for the skeletal structure, skeletal system in general, muscular system, all that stuff. It's always been very intriguing, but I think you know, it just kind of fit for me in my whole like thing when I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick murders as my name, right? A lot of people don't know that, but that name, the handle murders, I've used that since I don't know if you ever played any first-person shooter games, but
Counter-Strike days?
I played Counter-Strike back in like 2001, 2002, 2003. I was a avid Counter-Strike player, and I was on a team, and I used the handle murders a long time ago, using playing Counter-Strike, and I actually just kept using that same handle for all the games that I played.
Hmm.
You know, I'm a big nerd. I play all kinds of games. I play like like MMOs. I've played like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So I've always used.
Diablo 2 back in the day?
What was that?
Diablo 2 back in the day?
Oh yeah, I definitely got down on some Diablo too. I mean, even now, there was one that came out recently that was a pretty good ARPG. What was it called? Last Epoch, something like that. It was a pretty good one too. I was actually getting into that, and it kind of got me back into Diablo 2 for a little bit. I was busting that one out.
There was this one guy. It was always funny. It's like we'd be playing, and it's your boy Nasty.
Oh yeah, yep.
That was always the best. It's like, it's your boy Nasty.
Man, there's been some really some good names out there, like really good like creative handles that I miss back in like the Counter-Strike days.
Yeah.
There's been some funny ones. Or like even like guilds that I was in when I was in World of Warcraft, I was really big into like the raiding and like, arena scene and stuff like that. We had some pretty good ones. Good names for guilds. But yeah, the whole like murders like skull aesthetic thing it's more of a morbid interest.
Yeah.
They definitely have a morbid side to me, I think. And it just fit. Like I was hoping that one day I would get good enough that people would be like, "Oh man, you're so good at flying these drones. You're killing it. You're murdering it." You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. Were you ever into like the scene, like the leather and the?
So one of my favorite genres of music is death metal, right?
Okay.
Like I'm an avid guitar player. You know what I mean? I've got some insanely expensive guitars over here. So yeah, but I never really looked like it. Like I wasn't the guy. Like I liked punk music in high school, but I didn't dress like a punker. Like there was the kids that were wearing the jean jackets with the spikes and the mohawks and shit. Like I just kind of look like I look like now, just much younger. But I really was into that kind of music, and same thing with metal. You know, I've always really been into metal music, and every once in a while I'll wear a metal shirt. Oh my God, did you see? I think it was Joshua Bardwell's live stream yesterday.
No, what happened? Tell me.
So, do you know who Dan Z is?
I don't know.
Okay, so Dan Z is a pilot in the FPV community. The guy's a phenomenal pilot, but he's also insanely creative. The guy's a really great artist in a lot of different mediums. And he actually has a shirt. It's probably upstairs in my dirty hamper right now, but he has the lipo death shirts. It's like, and it looks very like metal, like, you know, like death metal kind of like look theme, you know what I mean? And it says lipo death. It's got like a face, like a rotting corpse face of a pilot with like the goggles and then, you know, whatever. And it says lipo death, like in that really creepy looking, like, you know, metal kind of scripts. It freaking Joshua Bardwell was wearing the shirt yesterday on his live stream, right? And he starts the live stream. Mind you, I think the only reason why I was even in his brain was because he like commented positively on one of the comments I had left, I think on like Bot Grinder's video or whatever.
Bardwell did?
Yeah, Bardwell did.
Okay.
Like if you go to Bot Grinder's video about the whole blacklisting thing, you know, I put my opinion on there about what I was thinking. Yeah, I appreciate Bot's opinion and all that stuff, but I kind of, you know, from my perspective type thing. And
Yeah.
Bardwell just replied, bravo, whatever. Anyway, so like he was wearing the Lipo Death t-shirt on his live stream, and he starts the stream and he's like getting, you know, Bardwell, big ass nerdy dude, funny guy. I really like him. He's a good dude. But he's sitting there kind of getting started. And he's like, "Yeah, you guys like this shirt? It's a nice shirt, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is a Murder's FPV shirt. I really like that guy. He's got his head on straight, right?" He's like, "It's a Murder's FPV shirt," and it's not. It's a Dan Z shirt, right? Like it's Dan Z shirt. And Dan, he's a big JB fan. Dan's in pretty much almost every live stream on in within the community space. He's on the stream. He's watching, and he types. He goes, "That's not Murder's FPV. That's my shirt. I gave that to you at Rampage." And JB's like, he's like Dan Z writes here that it's his shirt. He gave it to me at Oh yeah, that's right. He's like, I knew there was more to the story. And he goes, yeah, Dan Z gave me this shirt. It was really, thank you so much for the Murder's FPV shirt.
Just one sec. I just want to see who Dan Z is because I'm probably.
He's still, the funny part was that JB, for like the entirety of the stream, was convinced that it was a Murder's FPV shirt, but just that Dan Z had given it to him at Rampage. I was just dying. I was laughing my ass off so hard because even later on in the stream, Wrecked, right, the company that they sell Dan Z shirts. By the way, if you want to get one, it's a sick shirt. You can buy it from Wreck.com. Even they went in the stream and were like, "No, we sell that shirt on our website. That's a Dan Z shirt." And then JB's like, "Oh man, that's pretty sick. You guys sell Murder's FPV shirts on your website."
Hey, you know what? If it gets some more sales, who cares?
Yeah, right. They're probably going to get more people buying them now, which is actually pretty hilarious. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think anybody gives a crap about my merch.
I don't buy shirts. I really have to wear them.
Garrett asks where the merch is. It's funny because I have a Murder's FPV shirt, a one-off. You know, I came up with the design. It's pretty sick. It says Murder's FPV, but like the the FPV part is crossed out and it just says props because I murder props more than anything. I love that shirt, and I thought about maybe making like shirts for people to buy or whatever, but I don't know. I just never really went through with it. I've got.
I hate tiny whoops. Do the Run DMC thing, but I hate tiny whoops.
I hate tiny whoops. That's hilarious. That'd be sick. I've got stickers. I always pass them out to people whenever I go meet them, you know, in person or whatever, or go to events. But I don't really have any merch. Again, I don't do this for like to try to make money off it, you know. I don't do FPV for that reason. I do it just because I love it.
Yeah. See, for me, I've spent my life trying to make money doing things I enjoy. So I've always looked at everything as a way to like I've been a hairdresser since I'm 19, and I built up hair salons. I've gone through like 3. I had a big one for a bit, and then I closed it when I had a baby because I wanted to be a full-time dad. I wanted to just take care of my child. So I just work Friday and Saturday at the hair salon, and that was still more than enough.
Yeah,
And then COVID came and shut me down for 3 years. So it's just
bro, that'll
like,
kick you in the balls for sure.
yeah, it was basically a 20-year business that I built, plus a reptile business. So now I'm rebuilding everything slowly, right?
Right. Yeah, understandable, man. I was very fortunate that, at least in my industry, um, the need for me to continue doing what I was doing was so great that like COVID didn't shut us down. You know what I mean? Um, I know a lot of people who spent a lot of time building up businesses that lost their businesses during that time frame, and that sucks.
Yeah. If I didn't downsize when I did, I would have lost everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got again. I'm just fortunate. Like, in fact, you know, my perception of how COVID went is actually a good perception, because for me, I got to still travel the world during COVID. So there was nobody around. The airports were empty. Aircraft were empty. Like, I got first class everywhere I went. You know, my perception was way different. I was in Japan in the middle of COVID. I was so fortunate to be there during that time because I got to do things like flying around Yokohama Stadium, like, because nobody was on the streets, right? Completely illegal to fly drones anywhere near their city spaces, but there's nobody around. Everybody was in their houses. Nobody was coming outside. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go fly around this cool ass stadium. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it just worked out for me in that way. I was able to fly at they have like a national park that's at the base of Mount Fuji that you're not allowed to fly drones in. But I went from there. I was pretty young in the FPV world, and my thought at the time, at least, was like, if I'm not hurting anybody, then whatever, right?
And you still would do it. Come on.
Yeah, I think
Don't
now.
make excuses. Don't be hypocritical. Okay. I really don't like when I hear stuff like that.
I think I'm a little bit more picky choosy, only because like, I do have my Part 107 now, and I do have people, you know, who I think would probably be like, oh, this guy murders. He's got fucking X amount of subscribers. He might say some crap about it. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit more choosy, I think, trying to follow the
That's
rules.
another reason I don't want my license. Like, I specifically never want to get any license at all.
Yeah. That was another thing too. The only reason I even got my freaking Part 107 license was because I have a buddy that I served in the military with, and he went into real estate, you know, pretty much around the time that I started getting into FPV drones. And as I got better, and he saw what I could do with the drones for his real estate business, he's like, "Man, I'll pay you, like, please do this." And I was like, "Okay, well, how do I do this the right way?" And there was one particular job that required that I have a Part 107 that he wanted me to do. It was for like he does like real estate for like corporate real estate, like big building type shit, right? So I was like, oh man, I gotta be on the up and up for this one. So I went through the trouble of getting my Part 107 and did that job for him. Outside of that, I try to avoid doing work with drones most part.
Okay, curious though. For
Ask me.
corporate real estate, what would you be looking at for something like that? Like, what would he pay you?
It varies. So like I asked a lot of questions in the community at the time when I was starting to do work for him. He was also insanely generous, I feel like, towards
Yeah.
me to kind of get me more motivated to do it for him. So like there was a while there where he was actually paying me additional money if the property sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if he was able to turn around and sell the house within a reasonable time frame after like one of my videos went out, he would just kick me a bonus. And I'm talking like couple grand, you know what I mean? Like pretty decent amounts of money. So yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on whatever the relationship you have there. I've done a couple of other real estate jobs for people who weren't my friend, you know what I mean? In fact, the realtor that I bought this house from, she asked me to do some work for her, and it depends on, I told her, like, do you want me to give you footage and you do your own editing, or do you want me to film and edit you a video of your choice, right? Well, if you're going to make me film and then edit everything, then that's going to cost you quite a bit of money, especially because my time is extremely valuable. So just simply providing the footage, like taking, a few packs and providing the footage, I think I'd probably charge somebody like maybe a few $100s for that. To turn around and pump out a video that's an edit, especially because her asks were very specific. She wanted not just footage of the house, but she wanted footage of the neighboring area, the community areas, the community spaces, and even like the local parks and, views and shit. So like she was asking for a lot. So, I mean, I charged her for a lot for my time and my work. So I have like a running rate on my hourly rate essentially, and I just go based off that. And X amount of dollars for videos that I edit, and then just kind of go off that. I get a lot of videos, people hitting me up to go shoot film things, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that like where I live in Maryland, there aren't a lot of pilots doing things. I live south of DC. There's like nobody out here doing this kind of work.
Well, there you go. If you ever need to outsource an editor, there you go. Boom.
Yeah, I do. Dude, honestly, I've actually even considered that. I've actually had people reach out to me and ask if they could be my editor for my videos. I'm a little too picky. I thought about maybe doing that for fun though, like asking people, "Hey, here's a bunch of my footage. Do what you want with it. I'm curious to see how it would turn out." Like
let me do. I'll do one for you for fun, and I'll do it on stream, so it'll be fun.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool, especially because you have an idea of the music.
And then if it goes well, you can hook me up with work. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, there you go. Right. That would change my content output.
There you go. Money's not your problem. Money's my problem. So there you go.
Yeah, my problem is my time. You know what I mean? So for sure.
I'll just be here naked editing your videos for you. My editor, Matt, what are you doing? I see you doing nothing.
Yeah, that would be actually, that's sick. That'd be sick, honestly. I would really love to be able to put out content more for people or film things. If I had a full-time editor that could do something like that for me, that'd be great.
There you go. M&M Media.
Yeah. We'll see. I'll try that out. That was actually a suggestion I'd gotten from people in the community. People who reached out to me and said, "Hey, have you thought about hiring an editor or whatever?" And I've like, and my knee-jerk reaction was like, "Hell no," you know what I mean? But then I was like, that might be fun just to test to see. Or I've even thought about, because I've had a lot of people ask me questions about my editing process and like, what could they do to get more views and stuff? And I'm like, bro, maybe if you sent me your footage, right? If you sent me your footage and allowed me to edit your footage, see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you'd get more views on your video if you let me edit your footage, right? Like,
you have to title it and thumbnail it too, because
of course, right, of course. But I've kind of been curious about doing that at some point, just to kind of see, especially homies that I like. You know what I mean? Good friends of mine in the community that I consider really close friends, just to kind of see what the outcome would be. Like people that I would trust to edit my videos. For example, I think Vitrify was in here earlier. I love Vitrify's style. I trust his editing 110%. I would love to see what he would be able to create with my footage, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's a phenomenal pilot. He's got a really, really good style, and I think it would definitely cater to like my creative space. You know what I mean? It'd be pretty cool to see that. I think that'd be something fun that I think maybe the community should start looking into as well. Like, think about how difficult it is to get people to watch your footage or watch your videos or whatever, but like, if we had something like maybe like, I don't know if you follow the beginner to FPV community page, but that'd be a lot of fun, you know, like maybe if beginner to FPV set up some sort of a, I don't know if necessarily contest, but like just like an event where you could submit footage and then random people could take your footage and edit it, give it back to you and see what you think, and vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that
kind
could
of
be
like
fun.
be
I
interesting.
like doing that. So I actually like there was I did a what did I do? I did a frame giveaway, and only 2 people entered it. So they both I just gave them both. And
There you
one of the
go.
guys, he was like a kid, and
Yeah.
so then I took his footage and cut it to a song and made like an edit for him. And now like he's flying the drone I sent him. So it's like it was his first time flying a drone from a whoop, and the stuff
Mm,
he's doing is pretty good.
nice. And you know what? That's funny because like that's another thing too. I think, you know, karma goes a long way, right? Like supporting
I
others
love
in the
the little
community.
guys. I just
Yeah.
like in our community, like you see it happen with every community where it's like there's the big guys and they always hang out with each other and they don't hang out with
Yeah.
the little guys. And I hate that. Like I think of remember America's Funniest Home Videos? Like
Yeah.
I grew up on that, and like you just saw it like all these videos from all these different people. Just like to me, like my dream is if I ever make it where I'm making enough money, like if I ever had more money, I wouldn't be getting fancy things. I would be like, we're gonna go visit this person, or it's like we're gonna go take this subscriber on a trip, or like
Yeah.
stuff like that, or like, hey, there's a homeless person, but what we're gonna do is like this homeless person plays guitar and their guitar is falling apart. Let's take them to the guitar store and give them whatever guitar they want, or something like where
Yeah.
they're actually doing something and we're gonna boost that. You know, I've
Yeah.
always thought that kind of stuff would be really fun and rewarding.
Almost like the Mr. Beast content, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Without the like, see, because Mr. Beast does these crazy things.
Yeah.
I love his
More relatable stuff.
philanthropy videos. The
Yeah.
videos where he helps people, like those are my favorite
Same.
videos. Like
Yeah.
I love seeing like when he has money and he's like curing blind people or like doing all that kind of stuff. It's like
Yeah.
that.
Doing crazy
Yeah,
shit with money. Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's
agree.
just
I
like
think that's
to
cool.
me, that's what like it's so like we said before, like just where we live. You know, we're like in the top 10% of the world, and for some reason, people in our situation like to compare themselves to the 1% instead
Yeah.
of being so grateful and happy that like we have water because there's like bloody kids that have to walk all day to go get like parasite filled water just to drink,
Yeah.
and it's like that disgusts me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
It's sad.
and we're stressed and bothered over high costs and bills and stuff. But it was like if I was ever in a place where I actually had money, like it'd be more of like an experience and just taking the little guy and just
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff, you know? I think
Yeah.
that's fun.
Well, yeah, and it just kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think karma goes a long, long way. And I mentioned earlier that I feel like I've always been a very lucky and fortunate person, but I think a big part of that is because I try to give back when I can, or whenever, at least whenever it comes to me. You know what I mean? Like, or at least think of ways to be able to give back or to help when I notice it. But in the FPV community space, you know, I have lots of people who stop by, watch my videos, leave comments, and they're all very, very, you know, I appreciate them for the most part. I don't get a lot of dislikes. I don't get a lot of like crappy comments.
I'm gonna start saying nasty things
Yeah,
every time I see a video. Oh, murders. I
it's
saw
funny
a
'cause
little bit of prop wash at 3.5.
my best friend, I love this man to death. He is a comedic genius. The guy, he and I feeding off each other in public, it's like a spectacle. And no matter where we go, because we travel for work and stuff together, we always build up a crowd. Like he and I together are just insane. But I love that man so much. He's a good friend of mine, but he loves going on my videos and just blasting me like and like morbid dark stuff. Like he will sit there and say how he will like tell a story about how my like his world and his life has gone to complete trash, and you know everything in his life is completely infinitely terrible because of everything that's compounded whatever. At the very end he'll tie it back to the fact that he watched my videos, what caused all that. It's hilarious. The guy's so fucked up, but I love his comments. They're great. And it's funny because a few times he's left those comments and people will be like, bro, why are you so mean? Like they'll try to defend me and stuff, and I just laugh
And then
because it's
you
my
like
best
it even
friend.
more. I love that too. Like, I love saying the thing you're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't feel that, but like I always think of the worst thing you can say, and like that's what gets me going. Like, someone makes a mistake, it's like, can't you do anything right?
Right. Yeah.
Or like just being really mean, but it's like, as long as you understand that, like, I don't actually mean it, I don't actually feel that way, but it's like, it's funny. Like, I don't know, the thing you're not supposed to say, like anything like woman driver or whatever, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get that. But, you know, whenever I see a comment from somebody that I don't recognize, hey, that's great flying, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. If they leave me a comment, I'll go to their YouTube, right? And I'll watch their videos and I'll comment on their videos, give them likes and things like that, and kind of see what they're about and everything. And I do that. I make time to do that. And just try to kind of feed back into the community. Or there'll be times I'll just sit there and browse through YouTube and try to find new pilots, you know, like something that's going to spark my attention.
I
And it's
never
funny
saw that
because,
dude, so now I'm gonna check out that dude with the t-shirt.
yeah. Oh, dude, Dan Z is phenomenal. You're going to love his content, I promise you. The guy's a great
And I'm
pilot.
gonna have to check out this other guy, the one you said,
Vitrifly, yeah, Vitrifly. I mean, both of those men have insanely good talent for editing, and they have like a higher, what I would consider a higher tier, higher quality production, you know. And that actually goes, in my mind, it goes a long way, because when you see people putting in effort to have a higher level of production quality in their videos, that just shows that they care a little bit more, and you generally get a better outcome from that, right? And I'm not trying to dog in any way on anybody who just posts their video like raw, right? Like, just post a video up, motor noise, whatever, it doesn't matter. I still watch those videos too, but I try to give appreciation to people who spend the time to, you know,
Well, yeah, it's
edit
like you go to
and all
the
that stuff.
gym, you don't look at the skinny person and say like, "Oh, you suck." You're like, "Good for you for coming." And you see the guy with the body you want, and you're like, "Okay, maybe I'm gonna start doing those things when they're not there."
For me, it's Anatoly. I have a mad respect. I want to be Anatoly. I don't know if you know who he is in the gym space, the gym world.
Okay.
That really, like, he looks scrawny, you know what I mean? But he's like insanely strong, and he'll just roll up on like these big ass bodybuilders, and he
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah. The
like
guy
it's
that
nothing.
always is pretending to be cleaning or whatever. You like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
guy?
I love that guy. I want to be that guy. I
Yeah.
want to be
I
that
love
tall.
listening to. Do you listen to Noel?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, so he's that guy. He's like he's too big. He's too big, but he always like he does these. Now listen, like, let me explain.
Oh,
He has
yep.
he
I
has
know
that
you
like
guys.
English accent. He just has the perfect accent, and I love just listening to that guy.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
daughter loves Jesse James.
yeah.
Yeah, and
General
my
anyway.
daughter is like, she's like, she always calls me fat. She's like, you have to have abs. So like, I'm gonna be fat until I have abs, basically. But
Yeah,
I'm big into like I guess training and whatever too. Because when I was little, I was 110 pounds, and everyone picked on me, and I
yeah,
hated myself. I had no self esteem. And I was like, being that loser for so long is kind of like what, when I turned 19, I hit the gym every day, and I took Mammoth 2,500 like weight gainers, and I got jacked, and then I became a hairdresser, and then the rest of my life was women. So it
yeah.
was like,
Oh,
so
I
it's just
understand
like,
that.
anything that, like, lots of time people want cars, house, these things to try and impress women, and for me, it's like I always got them anyways. So
Yeah,
later on in life, it's like, that's why now, like, no matter what someone says that's mean to me or whatever, it doesn't care, because I survived myself, you know.
yeah. That's yeah. I can
And
relate to that for sure.
no one can be as mean to you as yourself.
Or as mean to me as some of the women in my life who I've hurt. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I've been
Well, you got
fortunate.
a few ex-wives, right?
I've got a few. I'm always working on adding more to the list. You know what I mean? No, I think I'm done now. I think I'm at a point now where I'm finishing up with the search for ladies. Getting there. It's gonna be a long freaking print, man.
See,
20
I
hours.
came up with a system. I always came up with systems. So my system is just the snakes and a motorcycle. I walk around with the snake. The ladies come. Oh my goodness, can I touch it? Do you like motorcycles? They say yes. I say, when am I picking you up next week?
The smooth pickup line. Yeah, I mean, I rode motorcycles too, man. I played guitar. I definitely had my ways of going about stuff. All right. Well, I gotta get going. I gotta make these kids some dinner.
Okay, great. It was a pleasure. It was fun hanging out with you, getting to know you better, and yeah, I got you on Facebook and whatever, so you can Dropbox me some files, and I'll have fun with them.
All right, man. I appreciate it big time.
Okay, see you, buddy.
You guys take it easy,
Thanks,
bud.
everyone. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. I'll be right back with the shirtless, back to
Nice. Some nipples.
OnlyMans.
Right on. Later, guys.
Okay, see you, buddy.